there's going to be a lot of that.
So special. No, I'm sorry. Like in, there's the core rules, and then when a new rule comes out that breaks one of the core rules, the new rule takes precedence.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not a Warlord thing?
Oh,
am I just adopting that from something else?
That's a 40K or a GW mantra. I don't know if that's
I think that has also been in at least second edition.
Yeah.
Like, has it been explicitly said at any point?
Did we start the episode?
Yeah.
I've started recording, but let's.
SNAFU. Situation normal. All fouled up. This is SNAFU.
All right, welcome to another episode of SNAFU. Episode 97.
Woohoo!
Take 2.
Feels like it should be more than that.
I was actually wondering that when I was writing this in here. I was like, are we really only at 97?
I mean, by volume, everyone else records a half hour and calls it an episode.
By girth, we are definitely ahead, yeah.
97 episodes around.
Yes, that's the new mantra.
Exactly.
From nuts to nuts.
From nuts to nuts. There you go.
All right. Well,
oh boy.
From left nut to right nut around, right?
We just came back over the shoulder and came back
clockwise.
Oh, that way around is nice. That's probably more like 97 inches. Yeah, just around the whole body.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, that's fine. Kind of like side cut.
Yeah.
It's like
profile.
I'm trying to remember what horror movie that I remember that from.
Oh, Jesus.
There was,
that was a quick tangent. Jesus.
12 Demons or something?
It's not really a tangent if we haven't started yet.
Well, he said welcome.
He did say the thing.
I did say the thing, but it's what is it's the one where it's like there's a laser and then it was like just he's jumping through all the lasers.
Resident Evil?
Last one, yeah, it was Resident Evil. That's the one. Oh, and then it turns into a grid.
Yeah,
like, oh shit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it tells you how well I remember that movie.
That was the only good one.
That was the only scene I remember, actually. Anyway, welcome to another episode. If you can't guess by the name, probably, maybe. I don't remember, like, we debated the name. We're going to talk about some version 3. Which
Officially. No more speculation.
Yeah, no more speculation.
Yeah, we
were lousy at speculating.
We were horrible. We were so tight-lipped. And we will get to why that might have been the case in just a little bit here. We didn't have hobby in the agenda, so you want to talk about hobby, or are we just skipping hobby tonight because we got enough shit to do?
I think we got enough to do.
Yeah, probably have enough shit to do. Let's just roll.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Sure. If the beans and bits, sure.
Right.
Get to the Franken beans. Get to the Franken beans.
Yeah. All right. So if you have
the beans above the Frank,
bits and bobs.
If you get them above the Frank, you're in trouble.
Do a handstand.
Then they're below them again. You're done. Sweet. Just walk like that for the rest of your life. Good luck.
I don't even know where that's going.
I don't either, but it doesn't matter. So we may have been very quiet about version 3 because we don't want to tell us why. I know that people have reached out to us and asked us for our opinion or like what's going on or like. I think there's even been people that saying like, oh, they're not playing bolt action anymore.
Yeah.
There's been some speculation.
We were playing bolt action. We just weren't playing version 2.
Correct.
We were in the future.
Ooh, welcome.
We were playing all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I can rest assured that the version that is in your hands is a lot better than when we first started playing.
Holy Christ, yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, I think we would have loved another year, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also
it
true.
Was kind of okay. You're done now. Get it out at the end there. So
I would have loved to have actually had to look at it while we tested it, but
yeah,
we can touch on that.
We'll have a conversation
we'll get there.
about that when we get there. Anyway, if you've looked at the credits, at least one of our names is in there. Pat has been congratulations, Pat.
Sort
well
of.
done. Thank you for leading the charge for our little
Pod.
North American pocket.
yes,
yeah,
Pat, thank you.
The only Yank playtester in there.
Yeah, of yank. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, we should actually put it out bluntly and plainly. We've been testing. We've been play testing version 3. So
Yeah.
Under disclosure agreements, we've
Non-
not allowed to
disclosure
non-discllosure. Oh, that's right. We were not allowed to discuss.
Disclosure agreements what Osprey had. We have non-disclosure
Yes.
agreements.
Pretty sure they didn't have a disclosure agreement, but that might have been part of the problem.
Pat and Pat and I think Jeff, you guys were officially engaged how long ago?
Mine was 2022, right?
Yeah,
Or
it was
right out of
a
the gates.
long time ago.
Right. And so if you go back, you'll notice that we stopped talking about version 3 for quite a while, and it's because NDAs were involved. So
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I will say it was a very interesting experience every Saturday morning for a month or two, getting on Tabletop Simulator and running things through with Alessio. That was a very interesting experience for me. That was a lot of fun. And, you do play tests, whatever. You roll a dice, you blow stuff up. You're like, well, hang on, let's see if this one did that. So, we're not actually, playing games at the beginning. We're just... And very clearly from the beginning, his vision was, we're going to do cover saves this edition. Believe me, there was no pushing him off that notion.
Right.
And same with the shots were going to be halved when they came from vehicles. Those were going in there no matter what. Those were his key points for this version 3. That's what was going to be in this no matter what.
Yeah.
So
Someone told him that all machine guns were Italian made, and he had to do something about it.
That's a good one.
must have been. Jeff, what did you come in late February?
Yeah, it
2022,
was.
I think.
I'd have to check when I signed my NDA, but that sounds about right.
Actually, I think it was a month or two after me because Alessio shortly realized that I couldn't just count on every Saturday with him testing rules and getting good feedback.
Yeah, it's been a long effing time.
So they had 2 waves actually. They had the first playtest group, which was probably about a year and a half, and then they kicked off another one this January 2023, where some of the people dropped out.
We're in
from the
2024.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. It's been a while.
COVID.
Yeah, so January 2024, this year is when they formed the second group of other playtesters. Some were different, some were the same, some had name changes, but were the same person.
No, things change.
Yep. So, yeah. So it was a really interesting process. I know when it got to the second one, I wasn't allowed to directly share copies. So all the people you see in the back of the book, each one of them had at least 2 or 3 or 4 people in their playtest group that they were playtesting with too. So it wasn't, you guys weren't the only ones kept in the dark. The other people in the other pods, for lack of a better term, or teams, whatever you want to call them, we weren't allowed to share the actual rules. I could have them printed out and I could show them to you, but they had to go with me if I left the room or anything. And
This is where the shit falls apart real fast.
It made it really difficult. That part of it. I get why they did it, but
in the first one, Alessio had sent out slightly tweaked rules to each one of the pod team leads, so that if something came out, he knew where it came from,
so to speak. Yeah, it's a pretty common tactic. Yeah.
but nothing came out ever that I'm aware of.
Right.
Not from us.
No.
Not from us.
3/4 of us didn't have the fucking rule book, so it didn't matter.
So it worked, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it is a very convoluted way of doing something like
It
this,
is.
especially from a standpoint of I will fully admit, I would have loved to play test a shit ton more. I got to see some stuff, but I didn't get to do much with it. Right? But that's because I couldn't make it to the one time that you guys were doing stuff because you had the only rule book, Pat.
Right. And if you guys could all get together, but I couldn't be there, what
we were
you
fucked.
guys going to do? Right.
We
yeah,
couldn't
that
do
was
anything.
pointless.
Couldn't
Right.
do anything.
Yeah, we could
And-
sit there and speculate what rules we remembered, but that is not actually constructive.
And
Well, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, and for me, it just hampers my ability to think of different scenarios of, well, can we break it in this way? Because I can't go through and read it and dissect it and compare how the rules are interacting. I couldn't do any copy editing. I couldn't do any reading for clarification. I couldn't
no
do
one
any
did any
proofreading.
copy editing.
Well, that goes directly
but that
back to
could
the
have-
fact that
we could
nobody
have.
could see
We
it.
could have, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. We could
It
have.
could
And
have
you've
been a
got-
thing we were doing, yeah.
You've got 3 at least 3, probably all of us have technical writing of various aspects and degrees that would have been enormously helpful in a number of these situations.
Yeah.
And so I really felt like I felt like we were handcuffed a little bit in that regard. But I mean that's just my initial my only real feedback as far as the whole situation goes. So.
Well, that would be my process feedback, not even on the rules themselves, but process feedback is it got a little ridiculous with the levels of, I don't know if I want to call it secrecy or not. It's like, these aren't nuclear codes, guys. Like, we've signed NDAs. You can give us the effing rules so we can actually, play test this effectively.
Right, so
if that's what you want,
you what
right?
you want, yeah.
Right.
If that's what you want.
Right.
If you're just checking a box to say people play tested this game at some point, then just check the box. But then tell us that, tell us that, so that some of us take NDAs really goddamn seriously because it's part of our job, right?
Yeah,
right.
So, pick one or the other, rather than handcuffing us and then not really letting us see or do anything.
That being said, I'm definitely appreciative, Pat, of your inclusion of myself and giving me the opportunity as much as you could have, and being a part of it and kind of seeing, how it worked and what was happening and all the rest of it. So, I'm glad that I was able to participate. I am personally, at least.
Yeah. It was definitely watching sausage get made.
I didn't like it any more than I like watching hot dogs get made.
Yep.
I'm just gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of.
It's more fun to watch them get cooked because then at least you're going to get to eat them.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right. So I'm going to try and keep it as not salty as I can. But the fact,
you can be salty. Salty meats are
Pat
great.
pre-ordered us books. Our name's not in the book, and he didn't even fucking sign our books. He didn't even get signatures.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. We
That's
clearly
bullshit.
in the window of your pre-order will be signed by Alessio. And
That
nothing.
almost feels. Yeah,
even if it said he's going to sign 200 and you might get one, that would have been different than. But advertising that if you pre-order,
Right.
he's going to sign it.
he showed like a
It's
5,000
definitely-
boxes of shit that he was signing. Like I don't know how we
Allegedly.
possibly missed that.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
allegedly.
a mess for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
miss.
so that's a
That's a good way to put it,
frustration
yeah.
from a standpoint of like there was very very few or very little. It seems like there's very little appreciation for anyone outside of you, Pat, and that's because you're the only person they know. Which is totally like I understand their surroundings, but like as a person that's in charge of managing shit like this, like you got to recognize everyone. You should recognize everyone. Like that's. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Jeff is a good example. He's been doing this for a lot longer.
Yep.
What the fuck? Like that's to me is a big miss on their part as far as that goes. Like,
Yeah, from Jeff's standpoint, and I was the last one of the 4 of us that came in. Jeff was at it. It's more than 2 years as well. So it's like, but that's just kind of how they structured it. I
Jeff
get
almost,
it, but
was it almost twice a week
it
that
is
we were
frustrating.
playing on TTS?
Yeah, we were playing an
At
a
least.
ton on TTS, yeah, and breaking things.
Yeah.
very quickly breaking things.
A lot of them got. I'm not gonna say fixed, but got recognized.
Tweaked. Yeah,
Tweaked,
recognized
yeah.
and or tweaked,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Dumped a lot of math on them.
where everything landed isn't maybe how we would have done it or our feedback, but it is where it is, and
Right.
we're going to
I
play
think we
it.
would
So
all made different choices.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we would have
Well,
made some significant changes. Ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw one more in here since this is the salty portion, and we're going to get to the rest of it later. If my advice, this is personal advice now, I'm not saying anything, is if you do media of any kind, podcast, YouTube, whatever, think very, very hard if you want to participate in a process like this. Because on the one hand, it's cool that you're part of
Yeah,
you're a
you're
play
behind the
tester,
scenes.
right? But you're under an NDA, so we can't talk about it. So that's tons of content we don't get to talk about.
Yep.
And then, it's under NDA, so the idea of an NDA is it's quid pro quo. We get something, they get something. They get our silence, we get to see something cool or beneficial. But in this case, only Pat did, right?
Right.
We didn't ever actually see rules. We certainly were not paid, which I don't expect to be paid.
Right.
We weren't recognized with accreditation in a book. We didn't even get a signature in our book. So it's sort of like a lot of us left with our asses hanging in the wind here, and we lost out on 2 years worth of podcast content, which is kind of rough, honestly.
Boy, this last few months has been incredibly difficult.
Oh, man.
right? Everyone is bombing shit out there, and there's no holds bar, right? People are leaking shit, and this,
And we
we're in the corner going.
we had
Yeah.
we had all those copies of everything that was being leaked, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
right.
We had them in our possession.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got Well, Pat has copies of rules of crazy shit that you'd be like, really? And so, I suppose, it kind of, we kind of had
Hearing
to
the
be quiet.
speculation early on of how far off so many people were on some
Yeah.
things was
Wow.
really entertaining from a personal standpoint.
There was also the holy shit, those guys are nailing it right on the head.
Yeah, there's
There
a
was
couple of
Somebody's not adhering to their NDA somewhere.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's aware who that is. So
Well,
those
whether-
are
Well, we're not
legends,
going to name any names.
We're not naming
but yeah.
names.
I'm not naming names.
But the fact of the matter is that we couldn't speculate on anything.
Right.
Even if we couldn't see the rule book, the three of us couldn't see a rule book. We didn't actually know half the shit that was happening.
Well, and I'm going to touch on
Sometimes.
that later. There's half the shit, let's just say, didn't get as much play testing as we probably would have liked.
There's shit
Is
we
that a
did
gentle
was
way to say that?
hot fix on the press.
I will say that in the last month, there was a good percentage of changes that found their way in. That were not part of the initial January big secondary push.
Which,
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I have to assume that's the closest inner circle of people that are developing the rules had play tested that. God, I hope.
That would be my guess. But
That
I
would be
don't-
my
Yeah, you
guess.
figure
as
that's
well.
got to be studio testing.
It just
so.
it just didn't filter out to the actual all the other play testing teams.
And that might have been part of his design too. He
Sure.
wasn't exactly forthcoming with all that.
Yep, it was a more secretive process than a collaborative process, which
Right.
was
It was a
weird for
cabal.
me. But yeah,
And I
Also-
guess maybe we didn't know what to expect going into it.
right. We didn't. We didn't have proper expectations. I don't think, and that's something to learn for the future. Mm-hmm. And it's I will one other since we're still being salty, I get to be a little more salty.
We can be salty for a little
I'm
bit.
a little
salty
I'm a
longer than
little
anyone.
sad. I'm a little sad that when the hype push comes out, right? Let's say like 2 months ago, they start doing the Wednesday things, and then influencers start getting the rule books to
Yeah.
start doing stuff. I mean, I don't want to put too fine a point on this. We're the longest continuously running podcast for Bolt Action since basically the end of first edition, all the way now to the start of third edition, and we don't rate a test copy to talk about. That sucks.
Sucks for us, apparently.
Sucks for us, apparently.
And there's probably a million ways to quantify this. Let's not like get the internet nerds all upset about girth versus quantity versus quality. I think we probably fail on most of those, but
It's an interesting thing because I think that we were recognized our contributions to the hobby and to Bolt Action. I feel like they recognize that by asking us to help them in this regard, right? And so it's not, I mean, yeah, it's really tricky. I don't know if we set ourselves up by participating and then we're somewhat complicit in not being able to be like, I don't know. It's like we couldn't leverage the access that we had, but we were given access. It was weird. I don't.
right.
Like I said, and circling back to my first point, if you're a content creator, get a better idea before you agree to do something like this of what the expectations are going to be, so that you know if you're going to be having to handcuff yourself on content or not.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Yeah,
And maybe set your expectations with them.
Be
right?
very
That might
clear
be
about it. Yeah.
We expect to see the book early. We expect to be able to talk about it when you do like pre-release, whatever.
Yeah, we want to be one of those influencers you pre-release stuff
Right.
to.
Yeah. We can be the hype train if you want us to be the hype train. I'm not sure how good a hype train we would have been.
well, I mean, as long as we, we'll
as long
hype
as
it
it's
if we're
good content.
excited.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
We're honest hype.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, for me, with third edition, the biggest salt factor in all of this has been the process. It's the rules are not the greatest. Are they playable? Yeah. Are they a different game? Yeah. But is it going to be fun to play? Probably. I don't think I have any problem with the rules. Mm-hmm. I have way more problem with the way this shit happened in the background and the.
Well, the front ground wasn't a whole lot better.
Right. Just
A majority of the discussion going on was between me and the other the playtest leads on the group the media group that he chose as a platform, and
which was a horrible choice too, by the way.
Absolutely 100% agree, but and even side chatting with some of the guys, like you'll see that Russ Wright was in the version 2, the second group of the playtest. And just chatting with him about stuff, outside of it is like, what is going on? This is like the weirdest thing ever. I mean, we pose a question and all the other playtesters are answering it. And then once a month or so often, Alessio comes in and says, here's a new batch, do this. And it's like, what about the 13 questions we asked? Where's the clarification? Oh, I'll look at those. And just the number of times that he completely went dark was ridiculous.
No.
Well, he had a lot of other projects going on as well.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's based on social media,
and that's how he's the developer. He's the guy they hired to do it, so it's his call to do it that way. It's just kind of frustrating from the outside perspective.
Well, and I will tell you that we knew that there's going to be a day one errata FAQ. Surprised there was.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised.
Most of that was based on the other playtesters in that media forum discussing things through, going, hey, this was discussed, we agreed to do this. Nope, this one was supposed to be like this. Wait a minute, this should be this, and not... And then finally, Marcus from the Warlord said, oh, yep, I'll get Alessio in the office or whatever, and I'll get this confirmed, and we'll get it out. I mean, so that was... The playtesters themselves were funneling and fueling the FAQ to get out after we saw what was hitting print.
Yeah,
so
I mean that makes sense because otherwise you wouldn't need a day one FAQ.
Yeah, I mean, anytime something goes through production, you've got that team ready to go to fill in what was missed. So
yeah, and just for the record, I want to make sure I put this out here for all of us playtesters. We didn't do any copy editing in the book.
We didn't.
I didn't get to read any of the friggin' copy.
Yeah, you never actually saw a copy. Most of us never actually saw a copy of the rule book.
Yeah, I saw Pat holding papers. And,
exactly right.
And then he'd refer to something, and we'd ask a question. And does it really work like this? Is this okay? Is this allowed? And,
right. Well, and I remember one day I was trying to do scenario. So the new scenario generator, we were supposed to test that. And I was trying to generate scenarios and do everything off memory from what Pat had told me. And of course, since I didn't have all the rules, there were nuances I missed. So when I ask questions, Pat passes them up, and they're like, well, it says right here that's not possible. Well, shit, if I had the rules, I'd have known that, and I wouldn't have wasted your time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and, hey, we did get the one change where we found out that, if you had the sectors and the double envelopment, you could get the sniper who's forward deploying. His first order dice, he's off the table because he could go out in the corner.
Yeah, we had a great game where Dale just walked off the board. It was
well, no, I was going to.
Going to.
He put pins on my guys with some ambush fire or something, and they didn't actually get off. Didn't get off because infiltrators, they deploy differently.
Yeah.
So
a little different.
But
so now when that type of scenario comes up, it's a minimum of turn 2 before you can move off.
That's right.
Yep.
You have to survive one round of firing. So,
which is going to be a trick in this edition. I'm just going to say.
If you're small, if you're less than 4 guys, good luck.
Yeah, don't put your snipers all the way on the other side, hoping that they can get off in the first turn.
Well, unless they're hiding behind something that nobody else.
I was in cover.
He was in cover.
I was in cover.
Hard cover.
Out of line of sight. Sorry, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Not behind cover. Out of line of sight.
I'm like, oh, they'll totally survive. No.
Nope.
not like they used to. Yeah.
One thing that totally missed the FAQ that I hoped would have gotten in there is when they're talking about setting up your terrain, and they say that you should use 4 large line of sight blocking things, and I'm like, please change that to 6.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 per table
change
quarter,
that to
maybe.
6. Yeah, I mean, it should absolutely say 6, not 4 in there. So
yeah,
when we get a little deeper in, I have some comments about that kind of stuff later.
Yeah,
that's a little farther in.
That's probably
stuff like
a
that.
big change that we'll all discover as we move along. But it wasn't just the 4 of us that were part of your team, Pat. I don't know if
who else did we have,
anyone
Pat?
else. So.
Let's avoid last names.
Okay, we also had Dave, a clubmate of ours, who's great at looking. He's a big player in V2 early on. He's really, really good at seeing lists and finding good ways to break them, and he got some good feedback to me on some of the back when the platoon selectors were still in development, and he did get some things changed that kind of got massaged a little bit. So We've also had another clubmate, Ian, who was on board with us in Wave 2. He got a handful of games in. And we know something in one of his games that is still going to be part of the game, but it's going to be interesting to see how people mitigate it. We got into a weird scenario in his playtest where both him and his opponent were really clustered in their leadership bubble with their platoon commander, so the +4 12-inch 4 auto dice snap, and they had 2 rounds in a row that whoever won the first bag draw got to activate 5 units.
Yep.
And until someone finally managed to push that platoon commander or push some people out of that bubble, there's a couple rounds there where he's like, it felt really you go, I go. I said, you have to look out for that. Because, yes, that can be a thing when you're talking about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So,
I mean, that shit was true before. It just was too expensive to take them.
Correct. And it only, the higher commanders in V2 were unless you were building around it specifically, were never competitive options.
Cost inefficient.
No,
Yeah.
super inefficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, with the way pins are thrown around like frickin' candy, you need that leadership bubble, and you can get it at a reasonable cost. It's very valuable.
Yep.
And then we also had Tor, who's a lot of our tournaments has proven that Italians are a viable competitive choice. And we also,
maybe not so much anymore, but
well, no,
Actually,
I was going to say, I think they're better than they were.
I think they're better.
They're better than they were.
They have no
right.
negative rules.
Yep.
They don't have the horsies anymore, though.
Well, they don't have the Italian death cav yet.
Yet, yeah. We'll see if they.
And
get
thankfully,
it
it'll probably be at least, I don't remember the schedules, but probably at least a year before that all gets.
It was great
together.
that you were able to finish painting on those Cav.
I'm still working on them. Still working on them. But
Hey,
yes,
bring them to SNAFU. All units that were in V2 are allowed in V3, and Russ Wright has been working on a lot of stuff, and he sent me what he worked on, and I'm going to make... So his World Open War, if no one's familiar with it, is coming up like next month.
Yep.
October something. It's like
yeah, it's October 22nd, somewhere around there. So he's got a lot of stuff worked up, and he's really taken the Warlord gambit of, hey, here's our rule set, do if you want to, how you want to play it, and he has really twisted and conformed it to what he wanted played. So it's not clear cut and dry out of the book. So with the stuff that he has done, I'm going to look over, I'm going to review it. Ryan's also going to be, who did a lot of support with the V2 and all the units and stuff like that, is compiling lists. So I'm going to look through those, and I'm going to tell you for Operation SNAFU and Recon Rumble and any tournament I run, anything that's in your collection, you're still going to be able to play at those tournaments, guys.
Yeah, that's good.
They're going to be there. The worst case scenario is you pay V2 costs to put them in your list. That's the worst case scenario.
Sure, and that's still okay.
But what
That's
if I
still
want to
okay.
bring Chinese to SNAFU?
You will be able to bring Chinese to SNAFU.
There you go.
We will have a list that will
Australians too?
be... Yes.
Nice, okay.
Yes.
Yes, slight oversights there, maybe.
I mean, they featured heavily in Stalingrad, so...
The Australians?
And the
And the Chinese?
Chinese, yeah.
Yeah, they fought each other, didn't they? Like, right
sure.
there in Stalingrad?
yes, they raised the flags. I think. I'm pretty
They're on
sure.
the
Fight for
outskirts.
Flag, yeah.
They were
Fight
there
for
at the
soul
shrimp on the
of
Barbie.
communism,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. Yeah. Where were we headed with that?
I have no idea.
Well, just to
I
kind
just
of
felt it.
recognize
Right, yeah,
those
so,
in the
yeah.
team. And
And so, and there were a bunch of other teams doing the same thing, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah, for
supposedly,
every name that's in that book, consider there's at least 3 or 4 guys or gals that worked and play tested with them and that had the same things that these guys are saying. Like, what do you mean you can't let me see the book? Russ has got a tournament that he's trying to run. He's like, hey, I've got my other captain here who's under NDA and he needs to run this tournament with me. Can I please show him this yet? And this is like a week out from release. So
Yeah.
you guys weren't alone in that frustration.
I
So if you like misery, there's company.
right, and I don't know why that happened. I still think it's the most messed up part of this whole ordeal. Of all the expectations that I had, being able to see the rule book was one of them.
Well, now you know better.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm like, there's not much value in signing an NDA anymore if you're not going to see the book. Like, you can sign one if you get to see the book, but I'm not going to sign one if I don't get to see the book. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
yeah, it's like, if the choice was made, and my frustration was not feeling like I was utilized as I wasn't able to help as much as I
Well,
could have. But
and to the point, I'm gonna lay a little more salt down before we're done here, because you mentioned something that right. So every person that's in that thank you playtesters group, or have 4 or 5 other people that they might have involved in there. If you
That's
guys go
many more,
and many more,
which is fucking bullshit. Come on now. There, look at this page.
Ruin that page.
Look at that page and tell me there wasn't room to put another dozen names.
Go down to 11 points.
Come on now, that is my biggest beef. It's not like, oh shit, we ran out of room. Sorry, the page is a third full. No, half of the page is empty.
You have all their names that's on the NDA in the pile, and you're
fucked up in that regard. That's my biggest frustration from and they're in the end and many more. It's you didn't run out of room. The ink doesn't cost you anything.
But
to show a little respect.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
No, that's true, but there is a silver lining, Rick.
What's that? That I got to pay for my book?
No. No more free units.
You know what? I'll take it.
Take what you get, yeah.
I would rather everyone had a fucking free unit. I'd rather they go the other way.
Actually, that's a good call. I'm with you on that one. Don't take away
maybe
cool
all
stuff.
playtesters should get a free unit.
Damn straight. We get a special special unit or something that we can take. Sure, that sounds totally fine for the one tournament I get to go to a year.
Which you usually are ringing at.
Which I ring at and be like, I got a special unit that can win the game for me.
So I'm running the tournament, but I should be able to get a special unit anyway. But still,
the naval observer exception.
Yeah, I didn't have much expectations going in, but that was
the River Horse Cavalry.
Yeah. The River Horse Cavalry. Yeah,
I mean, Lord of the Rings.
They're indestructible.
Yeah,
sure.
And, I don't want to. Exactly. I like to bathe in this Dead Sea of Salt as well. It's just I kind of just agree with Rick on that one. It's like I was expecting something, right? Something.
Well, in the first wave, you guys did actually get to see what I'm going to call rules, because it was like 4 sheets of paper.
It was
that
like
had
vomit on a page at that point. It was like, here's my thoughts.
Yes, but
which
that's
is
what
fine.
That's what the rules were at the time, and
you
get to see them in version 1,
right,
or in the wave 1.
But when we get to the actual, here's time to start playtesting and making lists, we couldn't even see the org charts. We couldn't see points. I was like, just use version 2.
They didn't have them yet.
Oh, I know. Well, that's a different problem for a different day. But
I don't know. It seems like today.
Right, but org chart. It seems like right now. We're already.
Oh, it's today old, and I found out the points weren't ready when I was supposed to playtest the game.
Right. Well, but even we couldn't even see the. It took us a long time to get even the org structure figured out with you, right? Because we had to solve the puzzle while you were here's kind of how you can do it.
And then that feedback got put up, and he's finally like, "Oh, maybe you should give them the org charts and the scenarios."
No shit.
Fucking
thanks.
No shit.
and then the whole world saw him.
And then that was still back in January. There's still snow on the ground.
I mean,
that's fair.
I literally handed you guys the hard copies of them, that all briefcase style, with the freaking handcuffs.
Still ridiculous.
Yeah, the thing.
Come on.
There were big sections of as a not Pat playtester. There were big sections of this where we were asked to playtest, effectively we were trying to put a puzzle together with a blindfold on, and Pat telling us what the piece was shaped like.
Move to the left. Nope. Pivot it.
And
that's not a puzzle piece. That's my.
Yeah,
exactly.
No wonder it didn't fit in here. Let me ram it in a little harder. But it's just,
right?
it's just an excruciatingly frustrating process.
One that you're happy to be a part of.
No.
Oh.
I personally will say no, but I also I was probably the least involved, so most busy. But where I was hoping
largest
to be able
number of kids.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But where I was hoping to be able to help when I signed the NDA was I can read the rule book, I can ask questions about how these rules interact, I can actually be like, hey, yo, you got a typo on this page, those types of things I'm good at. I can sit and read.
Yeah,
I'm good at that. We have actually edited another frickin' book.
We have an editing credit on a bolt action book.
Right.
Yes,
and I'm not signing up to be the editor, but I was definitely
that's something you could do to help.
I could do something. Yeah, I had some involvement. I could help in a way that is meaningful.
Right, and it isn't we're offering assistance or that type of assistance isn't needed.
No, very clearly it's needed.
Right. So it's like, listen,
Somebody,
we
at
want to
least
help
one
you.
person should read it from cover to cover.
Right. Yeah.
One? No, there should be dozens of people reading this.
Yeah,
all
dozens
of
I
these
would have been
people-
happy if there's
Cover to
one.
cover.
all of these people that were involved were excited about the idea of like what the next version came out as,
Yes.
right? Like we were all like
And
were
invested.
all invested in the idea of
I mean, we're 97
What?
episodes invested. So.
right. Well, we're tournaments invested into it too. Like it's not like right. There's investment.
I
into
mean, shit,
this.
we've traveled overseas for this stuff.
right
Twice.
Yeah,
Some of us twice, yeah.
It's me only once, but nonetheless, like
You were with us in spirit.
yeah, damn straight. But the right, we have an invested interest in this being a good thing, and like we wanted to help better.
Yeah.
I wanted to help better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's probably, maybe that's the primary frustration is I don't think any of us really felt like we were even remotely utilized to the best of our abilities.
I would have placed bets that Pat probably doesn't even feel that way.
Right. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think any of us probably felt like that.
Right. And so,
Yeah, it was tough. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I mean, and Dale hit this on the head earlier. It's like it was clear to the inner circle is where 90% of the game change feedback had direct impact.
well,
And so if you look at the playtesters listed in version 1, the playtesters listed in version 2, you're going to find at least 4 last names that are identical.
yeah.
And those are the ones that were the core, and the other ones that were added on were, say, you need to add more people to this stuff.
And so there's a larger lesson in that regard because there's and this is maybe why I can understand how things worked out the way that they did. So the larger picture simply, and this extends beyond bolt action playtesting and things like that. Location can sometimes have a bigger impact than you might anticipate. And so the workforce, and this is, now I'm going 50,000 feet. So I manage a team where I work, and we offer remote work, and I encourage that, especially for the folks that love to be remote and shit like that. But I'm in the office every single day because I like to be in the office. I have my setup there. It works. It's brilliant. And collaboration with the people who are in the office with me is so much easier and so much faster than it is
Agreed.
with any of the people that I'm working with remote. And so there's nothing wrong with that, and it's a great work-life balance, and I really encourage that. But there can be an unanticipated downside to that kind of thing. And I work really hard to maintain those relationships and with my remote resources. But if I can get up and walk across the office and sit down and work through a problem with one of my analysts or one of the operations people or something like that,
It's easier, quicker,
so
more
much
effective.
easier.
Yep,
It
same
just is.
So that's probably what this case is. The number of times my
Right.
phone has been chirping away at 2 or 3 a.m. because those guys in Europe are all having conversations,
Yep.
and my wife waking up and going, "What in the F is going on?"
And so when you involve remote teams, you have to work really hard to keep them involved and keep their input valuable and appreciated, and give them those opportunities to make sure that they're still participating. And maybe it was a struggle for us in that regard, I think. So
I mean, sure. I think you have a great idea of a problem. I think that you're saying like I should care about remote people, but I don't think that was what was happening here, right?
Well,
It
no,
might
and
have
I'm
been a
not-
matter
I'm not
of
saying-
convenience, but like these people don't work together. So I don't think all these playtesters work together, or do they?
A few of them do.
a number of them were local to Nottingham, so
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's as much a processing as anything else. Like that's right. And I will fully admit I largely opted out of this shit because like I couldn't see the rule book. Like what is the point in playtesting if I can't see it? And it's really hard for me to playtest without being able to see it.
right. And that
I can't even make
yeah.
a fucking list. It's really hard to do this without like sitting and making a list.
Yeah, that has
So-
nothing to do with being remote through your location.
No, that has nothing to do with any of this
No.
shit. And yes, I like lost ambition to help with this stuff because we couldn't see any of it.
Yeah.
And I know that's not Pat's fault, and I'm not railing at Pat about this, but it's like if you want people to be involved, which I honestly don't know that was the goal. I think he had to check a box, but I don't know. right? Like, if you want to play testers, you'd get this shit out to them, right? I think, Pat, you asked them, hey, they'd like to see it. No, was the answer.
Yes, that is correct. I said they need to see this thing, go through it. And he said, no, make the list for them, go through the rules, explain them with them, and set up all that.
That's fucking insane. Sorry.
Well, then you're just getting one guy's thoughts out onto a battlefield to test rules that of units that I'm not thinking about.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to stick it in here for a second. Correct me if I'm wrong, but originally there weren't going to be North American playtesters until somebody from the company who is in North America suggested maybe you should get North American playtesters. Is that correct, Pat?
Not entirely.
Okay.
It was an introduction that was made, and John Russell very specifically and emphatically said you should probably get Pat Moline involved if you want to deal with anybody in North America.
Yeah, I think, isn't that just what I said?
Sure.
Without naming him?
Essentially, same thing. Yeah.
Thank you, John. It was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, John's cool. We love John.
Yes.
We had other SNAFU related things with John that in this whole process that were problematic with World War II. That's probably salting a little things too.
I mean, he was in Wave 1 as well, but very quickly his job got in his way and ability to do any testing. And then I think it occurred to Alessio the fact that John and I are as close as northern England and southern Italy are. Yeah. As far as distance is concerned, and we don't drive to each other's houses in the weekend just because we both live in America.
Yeah.
Right. That's not very helpful.
No.
So
it's no different than just getting a TTS with anyone.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know. I've worked with remote teams before, Dale. There's ways to make it work.
Oh, I know.
That it is an active process, and you have to actually want to do it.
You have to, yes.
But that was very clear when he's going dark on Pat that wasn't his goal or his.
It wasn't how he does his work.
Well, to be fair, he wasn't just going dark on me. He was going
dark
on
right.
everybody that was in that particular social media aspect.
A project manager, he is not. Let's put it that way. Like he's got a specific skill set, and it wasn't project management.
He's got a style that doesn't jive with how we would do things. I think it's
yes, yeah. That's a good yeah. So there's the salt.
There's a lot of salt.
There's still some other salt, I'm sure.
I think that's enough to make a pretty good prime rib. Probably about a 10 or 15 pound
Well,
rib.
I don't want a prime rib. I want to pickle something here. So,
all right, let's keep going then because we got another 4 cups here.
Can we mention we had to pull an episode because of that?
That's the salt.
Oh, yeah.
Now comes the vinegar.
I tell you to see the episode, but you can't see the episode.
Can't see the episode. Yeah, it pulled because we follow our NDAs.
Yeah, well, we didn't even break one.
We didn't even break one in that one.
Got broken in that episode.
So we had the scoop of the century, and we had to pull it.
Yeah, if you
care about
saw
action.
the episode, you know what you're talking. You know what we're talking about. But otherwise, you're just going to have to ask someone else.
You're going to have to ask us in person over a couple of drinks sometime. We'll tell you that story.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
But I ain't putting it on the air. Yeah.
I don't want that wound to open up on anyone.
Nope.
Nope.
We like those people too much.
It was frustrating from a standpoint of like we were doing our job and we were keeping our mouth shut and we were trying to be as good well behaved as we could.
Yep.
And we got hosed on that one.
Yep. We lost the biggest scoop on that.
Yeah. But whatever.
All right.
We have not gotten a scoop since. To be honest,
no one's fed us a scoop. Well, we couldn't talk about anything we might have.
We couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, I say we have all the scoops. In the world.
We just couldn't talk about any of them.
We just couldn't talk about any of them.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. So shall we actually talk about version 3?
Yeah. Now that the sausage has been ground, let's talk about things that actually
into the ground,
or more importantly, did not make it into version 3.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah.
No, we're not saying anything like that, are we?
No, well, I'm going to talk about
Let's not confuse too many people, but let's make sure if we are going to that we specifically say.
I'm going to talk about a couple things that I always said were in version 2. We were hoping to get fixed in version 3, and whether or not they got fixed.
Okay, sure. Let's do that now.
That is something I'd like to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
That feels like a Wheel of Fortune thing.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to be a lot more direct about it because
let's do it now.
I had always said
not confusing anyone.
Yeah, I don't want any confusion because this is not stuff that's in V3. I had always said version 2 was one page of fixes away from being a perfect game. What we wanted to see addressed in version 3. Smoke. Did smoke get fixed? No.
No. No.
No.
Fixed? No. Worse?
No.
Didn't get worse. Did not get worse.
Congratulations on not making it worse. Okay, let's keep moving on.
Yeah, didn't get fixed. Are airstrikes better? No, because everything can shoot AA and you can drive.
They didn't get worse.
If a plane comes onto the table and it's not driven off by something, I don't know what kind of game you're playing.
There's one part about an air observer that got better.
Yeah, there is.
The
Air
rookie
observer
pilot doesn't exist, so at least you can shift the target.
It's still garbage.
Yeah.
So nobody's taking him.
Well, the
Hey,
observer
rookie
is a
pilot
spotter
still
now.
exists. No, rookie pilot still exists. It just has to be close to you.
Right, yeah, it has to be a unit within, it has to be a unit within 12 inches of the
Yeah.
original
It's still-
target, not
still-
just randomly picked.
Not just
by your
randomly
opponent.
picked. Yeah,
So,
an air observer is
technically
still
better.
Technically
better.
but not really, and demonstrably worse than an artillery observer,
Yes.
Yeah.
who is now the same price.
Yes. He went down.
Yeah, he's crap too.
All right. Anyway, keep going through V2 rules you want to change.
Making
Machine
open
guns.
topped not useless, not fixed.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not just a hindrance.
It's tangentially fixed by the fact that it doesn't matter how many pins you have now, but it's not
Sure.
fixed. They're still way too vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that sucks. Did Gurkhas get fixed? Yeah, actually, kind
They
of.
went up a point.
They are almost. They went up a point, and close combat's a lot more pants now. So
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
that's a fix by not
A fix
fixing
in a way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a fix
That's
by
a tangential fix.
exactly. It's an adjacency fix, but it's
But
a
this
fix.
is the interim list. So next year when we see the British list,
I
it'll
don't.
be
But the basics of
chef's
combat
kiss.
aren't going to change, and I don't
Right.
think.
they'll get it for shooting.
When
That'll
shooting
be
the
the have
your
Gurkhas, the
shooting.
opponent has to have your shots.
No, you just get double.
Why
shots
would
or
you
something.
give
I
them
don't
ideas?
fucking
Yeah, don't
know.
give them
Why would
ideas
you
like
say
that.
that out
Jesus
loud?
Christ.
That's like saying, "Oh, gosh, it's not raining today."
Holy
Oh, what?
shit! Yeah. Oh my God. No.
Gurkha
Tank
scary
spam.
blighter, yeah.
Tank machine gun spam. Did that get fixed? Yes.
Yeah,
Do I like the fix? I'm not sure about that yet,
No.
but it definitely got addressed.
yeah. It
So-
could
That
have
was-
been addressed more accurately or more.
There
Less
are a
accurately,
lot
just
of
make it
ways
less
to fix
accurate.
that.
It's
This isn't the
not-
route I would have chosen, but
It's
it's,
not
a
just
route.
better. I think it's close. It's close. If it's not fixed, it's close.
It's probably statistically similar to the way I would want to fix them, but I would have to sit and do the math.
I think a lot of tank spam, DACA Stewarts, DACA M1542s, and DACA
Panzer 3.
Panzer 3s
Yeah.
were a serious problem and detrimental to the health of the game. The
Yes,
problem is I feel like they nerfed with a sledgehammer rather than a scalpel. There are
Yes,
a lot
for
of
sure.
a lot of vehicles were caught up in the solution they went with to fix that and made worse.
Yeah, I feel like outside of playtesting, Alessio even kind of hinted that there was a change coming in some of the interviews that he had done when he said that shooting.
You mean he
MMGs,
said the rule? He said them out loud
Yes, like
with the
Yeah.
bouncing around in the visor when he was on with Marcus and Max
Right.
3.5 years ago.
yeah, that was one.
How can you see clearly?
that was
You're bouncing
definitely
up and down.
forecasted. So, but
Yeah, it was
wasn't
definitely
just the
worse.
tank.
Cover saves were addressed in the same exact interview.
right.
Yeah, and just people just and there
That
was
was 3 years
there
ago.
was an uproar
That's
about it back then too. Just gonna say, but anyway,
But everything got caught up in that change.
right? So like the guy looking through a tank slit trying to shoot a machine gun bouncing around. I get that example, right? I agree that needed to change. The guy sitting on the back of a stationary Jeep hosing people down with a machine gun, a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
There
is
was
what it is.
no nuance there for sure.
There was a lot of lobby push in the playtest group for that and was met with Stonewall silence.
yeah,
Just for the record.
Keeping
I mean-
in mind that one of the cardinal pushes early on was to keep things simple, or as simple as they could be.
yes, that was a directive we received. Was everything was supposed to be simplified. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't make people do math. You know.
Yeah, no,
Counting to 7 is really
no
tough.
nuance.
And
So fucking hard.
and I feel like that.
You
like,
have to do it in Italian.
I think that devolved
Well,
into a
that
humongous
would,
train
sure.
wreck. I'm just going to say it. I don't think the game is any. I think the game is more complicated than it was.
Yes. 100%.
It
Well,
depends if you know where to look for the rules for each specific nuance.
but
Because
even the fact
thankfully
that
now
you're
there's
like,
an index.
I'm rolling 2 dice for every wound. or 3 dice.
There's a whole extra dice roll added to the game.
There's a whole different chart,
Well,
right? Like
keep in
there's a bunch of
mind
shit
that we actually have the rule books now, and we're not getting translated via Pat what's happening, so it's less complicated in that regard.
yeah,
You can read the rules yourself. Yeah, there you go.
But the game
Yeah.
itself did not get simplified. I'm sorry. It's not more. It's not small. It's not smoother. It's not simpler.
There-
But it is
Most-
more like the game that's made in Nottingham up the street. So if you're familiar with that game, this is going to feel like,
An
similar enough.
earlier edition of the game.
Earlier edition of the game, yes.
yeah. Well,
It's-
it went from like 3rd to like 5th.
Well,
Something like
I don't want to put too fine a point on it again, but war gamers tend to be older. So their experience with the game from up the street is generally going to be with those editions.
You know what? That's actually a fair comparison.
Especially when you go to historicals.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah, historical gamers are almost always, what is it? You hit
Longer in
40.
the tooth.
What is it? You hit 40, and you either got to get into historicals or grilling meats or both.
Yeah, you're
So-
either super
yeah.
interested in World
Or
War II
trains,
or you start
like, yeah,
smoking
yeah.
meats.
Yeah, or both, or both,
Yeah, or both. You could do both.
Or both.
both. Yeah. So I think that's gonna. I don't think that's a coincidence, right?
Right.
And a lot of it. I'm one of these people that played in early
Third,
numbered
fourth.
trace editions of that game. That somewhat fondly remember it. So
Age time.
Right.
Yeah.
Nostalgia rub.
yeah. So there's that little nostalgia dopamine hit. Except I had bad experiences with the systems that have been brought in, so I hate them.
So show me where it hurt you in the dolly.
Oh God, I could touch like 20 places.
Right? Yeah.
I'm angry about the cover saves not for the same reason that everyone else is, and I think I've even said this before. Cover saves should happen before wounding. It's like, come on now.
It's mathematically the same.
I don't give a fuck.
It just feels better.
It just
Thematically-
it feels more
thematically
accurate.
I
Like,
completely
I'm
agree with
shooting-
Rick on that.
I'm shooting at trees. The tree gets hit before the guys get hit. It's
Yep.
not the other way around. Oh, let's find out how many of our guys got shot by didn't get hit by bullets because of the trees.
You're finding out how many of those guys did actually get saved by the trees
That-
themselves.
It's the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's dumb. Anyway, but
And
it's
the thing
minor
about
rant,
that
and
is,
I understand
Pat,
statistically it's not different.
But that's just it though, Rick. Like it
Doesn't matter.
thematically works better, right? To do that
Right.
cover save first. And we've
Right.
established by the game designer's own admission that it mathematically doesn't matter.
or it's mathematically similar. It's not necessarily perfectly the same, but
Well,
close enough.
Actually, if you read the rule book, he gives you the option of doing it either way. So
Well, I don't
if
like
you- if
rule
your
books that
opponent
give
is
you
fine-
options.
Yeah.
well, then don't talk about removing Rex. I don't want to get into that right
Well,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's just it. How much fucking consternation that caused. Now, hey, I'm going to roll my cover saves first.
I'm going to run my conversation for my vehicles first because it's only one vehicle.
Well, actually, it's 13% less likely to whatever. Yeah, that's exactly what. So you're going to get to arguing with someone about stupid shit that shouldn't be argued about.
It definitely matters for the people who
have
have their
you not
special
wargamed
cover
before?
save dice.
Yes, I know I have, but that's why options suck. Don't
Yeah.
put options in rule books.
And that's why TOs usually have to step in and
Yeah.
straighten things
Yes.
out.
But okay, let me ask you a question. I think is that all your
That's all the big ones I'm going to cover.
all the big things?
That's
I
all
feel
the
like
big things.
Do
machine
you want your
guns.
saddle back? I think the horse is done.
And making
Yeah, yeah.
machine guns useful, that was definitely something that we all wanted to see. And that has
that's
been a
on the
success.
That has absolutely been a success.
They're better. They are better.
The
I think
fact
they're
that
a
Are they
choice.
useful? They are better.
They are better.
anyone could take 5 of them, and they can't get snipered off the table like they used. to.
Huge.
That's
Just
those are two
removing
big
exceptional
ones.
damage is a tremendous change for
yeah.
small teams.
Yeah.
Right. They still could die in droves, but that's a
That's
different
different.
problem.
That's
That's another
different.
problem.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
different.
That's different. Let me ask you guys a question. This is not on the agenda, but now I'm going to ask it because I feel like this is a good time to ask it. Do we feel like V3 was written with a competitive lens in mind, or would we feel like it was very much intended as a beer and pretzel game?
I'll speak last on this.
Oh, beer and pretzel.
Pat?
I would agree.
It was written to be competitive and fun and simple.
This is beer and pretzel. This is
Yeah.
this is like a fucking Oktoberfest of beer and pretzels.
I would agree.
And a Wisconsin Oktoberfest too, not even like a German one.
Yeah. I and you probably see more, Pat, as to why you think it's a competitive game, but I would agree. I think it feels very beer and pretzel. But
It was
that's
written to be a fun,
first.
competitive game.
I
It's
struggle.
It's supposed to be easy to learn.
give or take. It's easy enough to learn, I'm sure. I don't think
There's only 3 modifiers until you read most of the book.
Yeah, until you start reading the rules.
Yeah. If you play without tanks and you play without some of the other shit, you probably without any infiltrators or snipers. Yeah,
There are certain tanks you want this edition.
Somebody will. I know a couple that I would take.
Yep.
I know
like
at least
all 3 of them with fast.
How many shots does that tank get?
Doesn't. It's not
9.
about which one. Oh, the that one. I was thinking more the Sherman.
The gyro stabilized 105 millimeter Sherman.
Yeah.
Crap, that did stay in, didn't it?
It sure did.
Fuck yeah, it did. It's in there.
Sure did.
It ain't getting out.
Well, maybe it'll come
going away.
Maybe it'll come out in the new book. I don't know, but it sure as hell is in the main book.
I mean, gyro stabilized. Oh, the gyro stabilized part. I just don't fucking move it. You got spotters. Who cares?
I mean, there's no long range penalty. Why would you bother moving?
Right.
There's no short range advantage.
Shut up.
Fuck off.
Well, the range on it is the indirect range on it is pretty long, so you better get the fuck off the. You got to be sitting in a corner.
Well, the indirect's pretty rough.
The indirect's
it's
pretty
like
rough. You just direct fire that bitch.
You just direct fire that. But indirect is viable.
Buildings are still death traps.
Oh, for
buildings
sure.
Buildings are horrendous.
Take
death
all
traps.
the roofs off your buildings. You don't want them. You want ruins.
You want no buildings at all.
Nope.
If you can have buildings, it's fine. Just put your Gurkhas in there.
To bait somebody. Yeah.
Put your Gurkhas in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a little later too. Sorry not to keep saying that, but there are sections where this will be important. But anyway.
Anyway, all right. So 3/4 of us think it's beer and pretzel, but that's. I think we need to play more in an actual environment where people are making lists.
Yes,
outside of our little group.
I think.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, to be fair, I think. I would have told you V2 is also closer to beer and pretzel to competitive, and we made it a competitive game, the community.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right?
Yeah.
This one is farther from a competitive game than V2 was. Can you still make this into a competitive game? I think so, but it's going to feel a lot different.
I think it's going to be harder.
Try.
I feel like it's going to be harder from a standpoint of like the list building is so much more wide open.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of crazy shit that people can pull off in this now that it was a lot harder to do even with multiple platoons in the second edition.
It's sort of like you go to a restaurant that's got either a gigantic menu. Whenever I go there, I'm always like, I'm not sure what the quality of what I get is going to be.
Right.
Whereas if I go to a restaurant that's got 4 things on the menu, I know they're going to be fucking good.
Right.
So,
right.
And that's sort of
one thing well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of like a generic reinforced platoon. Sure, it was limiting, but it also did a lot to keep things balanced. Right?
Right.
This one's sort of like playing. So if V2 was chess, which I hate chess, but let's just call it chess.
Sure.
V3 is chess where you can replace all your pawns with other pieces.
It's like Star Trek chess.
Yeah, it's not 3-dimensional because it's not that complicated. But it's like, hey, do you want to have 5 rooks? Let's do it. And I'll take on your army of 7 bishops, and let's just see what happens.
There's a name for that, actually, in chess. There's a version of chess you can play.
I don't know the name of it because I hate chess. So
it reminds me of the one tournament that Rogers did back in the very late fantasy days, where army composition wasn't limited to one book. You could take whatever you wanted out of all of the books.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. That could be fun as hell. Right?
As a one-off, yeah.
As a one-off.
That was not intended as a competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
That was fucking just meant to be
right.
play around and have fun.
And there's a lot of guys, I see comments in the community, hey, it's much easier to make historically accurate forces with this organization chart. And you know what? I agree with that too. Right?
It's very beers and pretzels of them.
I mean, I think this is going to be, at least for the first year. Well, I know it's going to be until... Because they put that calendar up when books are coming out. So I don't think the last main army book, which I think is Japan or Russia, I can't remember, one of the two.
I think Japan is last.
Coming out in 2026, I think what it says.
One every quarter, so 5 quarters from now.
So 5 quarters starting basically in 2025. So yeah, just in the early 2026.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really rough time for competitive play. Really rough. Not the least of which is because some people are going to get their army books and have access to a lot more stuff. And some people are still going to be playing back of book. So,
which is where I think Pat's comment about and the work that Russell's
doing, yeah, Russell's
to fill in those possible
Yes.
gaps, because they're really interested in running, competitive
tournament, yeah.
fair tournaments.
Yep.
Right. I was kind of hoping that the Minor Nations PDF would be complete, and I never saw the lists, the Army lists in the back of the book at any point during playtesting.
No.
Right. And so we didn't know what was going to be included or anything like that. And so but c'est la vie. But it's a fair point. You don't know what's going where. It's interesting because I find that to be a fascinating exercise. Well, what can I take?
Yeah.
But if there's such a power level difference amongst what's available, it can be a little discouraging. Because if you're waiting for the Soviet book and it's not for 4 quarters, it's going to be like, oh man, In the meantime, I'm getting blasted off the table by, not multi-launchers, but multi-shot.
Quad autocannons?
Yeah, quad autocannons that are rolled onto the backfield. It's going to be, so it's...
But they can take Katyushas. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to solve it.
I'm being
and the thing is, and I guess part of the thing is, too, is it's like V2 got away with this without it being a huge problem because they just had the old Army books, right? We used V1's Army books for everybody but the Germans, and the German Army book dropped almost right away, right?
Yeah, points were the same.
Yep.
This is the first time we've, nixed all the Army books and basically did a clean cut.
Which will... Yeah. It is
So,
what it is.
the thing is, competitive play is going to... The guys that are in tournaments, that'd be Russell, that'd be you, Pat, and... I'm not sure who else. Ross probably down at Atlanta,
John Ross, yep.
and a couple other fellas in Europe.
Yeah, Alistair.
Bo, Alistair.
Yep.
They're going to make or break the competitive scene at least for this first year and a half. And I think they'll make it because they're all good guys. But I think it's going to be a lot more work than you're used to having to put in.
And they all talk to each other.
Thank God they all talk to each other. Yeah, the community is going to be what saves the competitive half of this game.
In the beginning, for sure.
In the beginning, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
And the enthusiasm that is generated with the release, and there are a lot of people who are excited about it. There are some people that are grumbling, but
right.
Thank
God we have those people. Yeah.
Sure.
So
something like that.
Well,
Did
hopefully
we
they all
discuss
listen.
Did we discuss the fact that they had a whole release about the fact that officers have to pay for their weapons, and then the book came out and they don't have to pay for their weapons?
No, we didn't talk about.
We didn't talk about anything actually in the book yet.
Yeah, we haven't even
okay.
talked about specifics.
We haven't talked about specifics in the book
Nobody
yet.
knows that yet, Pat.
Well, open your book.
No, they know that because Alessio specifically said that you were going to have to start paying for your shit, but this rule book doesn't.
Well,
Right. No.
air observers or artillery observers don't have to pay for their shit. Yeah, whatever they want.
We're not in the main book.
In the main book, the HQs don't have
Point costs.
they're still as
As
dependent on
modeled.
weapons.
Yeah, that was the statement. Is that HQ units will start having to pay for this stuff. Is what we were told,
Right.
Brr,
That's
brr,
one of
brr.
the
and they clearly don't in this book, so we know what's coming.
So at
Unless
some
they
point-
change their minds, and in
Well,
which case we
to
don't
be
know.
to be fair, they've muffed a couple things they told us we were going to see. So
Yeah,
Muff.
Muff. I love Muff. All right.
I didn't mean it like that.
Well, what do we want to do here? Do we want to talk about stuff that's actually in the book then?
Yeah,
That's probably what half the people here want to hear what we think
I
about
mean,
what's in the
I
book.
feel like we're not going to exhaustively
No,
cover the book, right? I think
we got
think
years
we're
of
gonna
content.
not in this
impressions
episode.
and like some of we can dive deep into pieces of it later episodes. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a bunch more content there for sure.
There's some big highlights we should talk about, though.
Yeah, I think there's things we've missed in some of the bigger concepts. Let's talk about some of like the paintbrush stroke, like the big strokes here.
I
Some of
love
the
big
details.
strokes.
Yeah, I do too.
Two fists this
Right.
long.
Well, since I've read the book longer than you guys,
Yeah.
you guys bring them up, and I'll try and answer them as best I can.
I mean, let's start with shooting. Shooting change.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Yep.
That's fundamental.
That's kind of like the bread and butter of bolt
Yep.
action, or
Yep, they
was
had intelligence
anyway.
report that the cover save thing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Yeah, covers. There's a cover save now, by the way.
Yep.
Less modifiers.
It's easier to
Pins
hit.
are easy.
Pins,
make sure you
veterancy,
Pins are
and
easy.
what was
Make
the
sure
third one?
you update your pin collection to include at least twice as many as you had before.
Yes.
What was the third modifier? Pins, veterancy,
Inexperience.
Move,
move.
inexperience.
Yes, move is still one. Okay.
Yeah, move
Yep.
just move just.
Yep.
Okay.
But there's no
So-
long range penalty.
So the worst you're going to hit on
Nope.
if you're regular. 6?
Regular 6.
And the worst you're going to hit on if you're irregular or inexperienced is a 7.
Yeah.
So the only way
do
to get
all
to
the
a
things
7
Yeah.
is inexperienced.
Which is still a 6 and a 6.
Which is still 6 and a 6.
I wish I had done something with that because that's obnoxious. But anyway, like 6 is an old Warhammer where 6s or 7s were 6s and then 4s.
Yeah, and then 4, 5.
6
yeah,
and
yeah.
4.
Like statistically, that's closer to rolling a 7 than 6s and 6s. Like that's a 1 in 36 chance.
Yep.
Like it's pretty slim. But anyway, regardless, make it hard for inexperienced shit to hit you if you can. Anyway,
If you take them for some reason.
So we've gone from 7-ish modifiers to 3 for now.
Ish.
3 negative modifiers.
Yeah, for now.
There's some plus modifiers, but
there's a point blank one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
also
And-
AT guns get a modifier.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, AT guns get a +1 when they're firing.
And a
Fire order.
Fire order. Correct.
If you get to point, if you get to point blank, you get a +2 to hit, right?
And if it's point blank with a heavy weapon, you'd also get a +1 on pen.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, because you just got to paste them.
But not if it's a shape charge.
Oh, did we forget the most important thing? The base to hit went from 3 to 4. So now your base number to hit is 4.
Yeah, that's again, the short range penalty got removed. The short range bonus got removed.
Side note, Pat, do you remember when we first started playing this and the base to hit was 3?
Oh my god, that was awful.
What a fucking disaster!
Oh, that would have
Those
been
games were
horrible.
so
Yeah.
quick. Those games were done in like 25 minutes.
I brought this
Bloodbath.
Italian list on TTS that had I don't know, 10 or 11 autocannons in it. Just
Just
leaf
blowing
blowered
down.
shit. It was great.
I think that was my first 5 mortar thing, and quickly by turn 2, I had a mortar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild.
It did not work well.
No.
So thank God they changed that.
Yeah,
list.
yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good improvement to base 4.
And the fact that the U.S. lost some of that helped a lot.
Well,
too,
in playtesting, not having one of the 3 modifiers very quickly became apparent was really effing good.
yeah, U.S. became
Yeah, they were top
even
tier.
more-
As a national rule,
Yeah.
that had to change.
Really
clearly.
fucking good.
that would like just the no move penalty. You just can ignore one.
Ignore a
all
third of the
penalties.
modifiers.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
As-
Which is why
yeah.
assault weapons went up in cost.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
brutal, but yeah, fine if that's what it needs. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm actually curious, Pat, because I wasn't part of. Obviously, we weren't in the design process at this point. The BAR went up by a point, but the BAR doesn't benefit from fire and maneuver anymore, nor is it an assault weapon.
it just was too good. People were taking too many of them.
Well, that's because it was really good with fire and maneuver.
Right, because it counted as discs.
Right, that stayed at the same point level as the assault rifle did, which had a shorter range and assault.
Well, yeah, but the assault rifle
And an extra shot.
doesn't have the
had assault.
has assault, which is not only doesn't bother move and shoot, but also gets you extra. Well, excuse me, re-rolling attack nows in close combat.
So they need you to buy
Yeah,
new
that
miniatures
was a big one.
with shotguns.
Right, they want you to get shotguns.
So,
edition. This is their
bars are
this is their
bad.
little GW.
And those are
Shotguns
only
are
available to
good.
Marines,
Yeah,
and
only
only
Marines
2
get 'em.
squads.
Only Marines keep those handy for close encounters.
And yeah, it's 18-inch assault, one shot.
They're good.
They are very good.
They're also on the sprue, so you could probably make some.
Oh, there's an ass load on the sprues, man. I got so many friggin' shotguns.
I've got at least a dozen guys model of shotguns that I had from V2, and I realized that they weren't so great then. But now, let me tell you, they're making lists.
They're one of the
Funny,
best
I
weapons.
had the same. I had the same thing. My Marines all had shotguns. I was like, oh, this is dumb.
Yep.
Right. Well, now it's not.
And now it's
Now,
not.
I was just in the future. We were
Right.
both in the future. It was great.
I want to bitch more about that special rule, but I'm going to wait till we get to the armies part.
Sure.
Because I'm
So-
going to bitch about a lot of special rules.
So shooting on its own got buffed.
Yes.
I would say so.
And then,
Pins got a lot easier to hand out.
yeah, so,
Well,
so,
yeah,
Be-
yeah.
so
Because
in-
also
Because
when you
you can't save every single wound or every single
just have
shot
to hit
ignore
to
the
pin.
pin. The pin just hits.
Yeah,
The
if
pin
you get
is
hit,
just
you get
there.
pinned.
Yes.
so pins
So-
were moved to applying on the hit.
Right. So the old tactics of getting to 7s and making everyone not hit you, essentially,
it's gone.
meant that you could take much fewer pins in some circumstances. Or no pins.
Or no
right?
pins, because people
Right.
could not hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your small team went down in cover. They're on 7s. You're reliably not going to take a pin.
That's gone.
That's
it,
gone.
If I'm going to bitch about if I'm going to bitch about anything about cover saves, that is actually tied for my least favorite part of the cover save system as opposed to the shooting modifier system. I hate that now you can make all the right moves with your unit, and it doesn't matter because the guy can still hit you as done a 6.
Yeah.
I loved being able to push it through good positioning to a 7, or decision making of going down.
Right. Leaving that order, leaving that dice in the bag and waiting and keeping the flexibility of pulling the dice to go down to affect the shooting made that more interesting.
Yes. It was a better interaction.
Now you're leaving it there to potentially save the model rather than save the pin.
Well, I mean,
but there are better ways to mitigate that now because of other changes, I think. So, anyways.
Yeah. The dichotomy is just different, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's different. So, but I mean,
there was a time the order was there, but I think I saved too many times and ignored Alessio's pin early on that you had to change it.
It was interesting to see how things changed based off of.
Because yes, it was
how games went.
To hit, cover saves, wound, pin. And if you got to the wound roll, the pin was going to happen regardless. You know, if enough people saved, there's still units left or models still left in the unit, then the pin got applied. Yeah. So I mean that sequence changed a number of times.
Yeah,
and it landed to hit, roll, pin, yada yada yada. So,
yep,
yeah. So in isolation, shooting got buffed.
Correct.
But then, by comparison, the changes to assault, shooting was buffed even in comparison. So
yes, let's start with the biggest buff to shooting, or the +2 at point blank. When we played games, and I'm going to say this, Dale, when we were playing games, I assaulted once or twice, and that was the wrong decision.
100%.
In version 2, that was the right decision. But in V3, it was always smarter to stop within that point-blank range and shoot. Always.
Yes.
Because down doesn't work at point-blank.
Nope.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the big one that could get misconstrued and forgotten a lot, is that the only modifier at point-blank that is ignored is down.
Yes.
There's still a cover save.
Still a cover save.
Yep. But
sure.
in order for assault now to be effective, you have to go in with overwhelming force. And the best way to get overwhelming force is to get into point blank range and kill as many guys by shooting.
Just shoot the ever-loving shit out of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about why assault got worse, if we're going to go down this rabbit hole.
Well, we should. I mean, these are
next
fundamental changes to the game.
Yeah. I don't want to say it because I'm not sure that I'm going to be correct, but it's basically they're always Simo.
Assault in the open is simultaneous.
Regardless,
Assault into a defended position is...
Defender first.
Defender rolls first. Unless you're an engineer, then you could ignore the defended position and go simultaneous.
It never gets better than simultaneous.
Yeah,
correct.
That's rough.
So
this was...
Also, assault was changed.
No, Tough Fighter was changed.
Or Tough Fighter
was changed.
Tough Fighter was changed.
So, yes, we talked about what the assault is. And the thought logic behind that, and I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong here. I'm just saying the logic that was presented is that when it came to World War II, it was more common that it was shooting at point-blank range than going in and beating somebody up with a buddy or rifle or whatever.
I mean...
and they considered that point-blank range to also be, quote-unquote, grenade range, if you can see my air quotes here. Meaning at that short 6 inches, you're throwing grenades, and that's how grenades are in the game, because you're not throwing them from 12 or 24 inches away. That's why the modifiers are supposed to be there. That's what they're supposed to be representing. I'm not saying that's correct. I'm saying that's how it was presented to us as to why that's what's happening at point-blank range.
I understand their statement for that. I strongly disagree, but that's well, they wrote the game, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's now...
to be clear, none of them fought in World War II.
You're kind of doing...
None of us, yeah.
It's kind of a two-step process. You're going in now to point blank to soften them up as best as you can so that you can pull the order dice, as long as you sufficiently do it, to charge them the next turn to clean them up.
Yeah.
Because it's still going to be more difficult to actually, because of cover saves, to eliminate a unit from shooting. So
yes,
from just shooting them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess depending on what you're shooting them with.
Right. And I think the competitive players are going to pick up on that very quickly. I'm going to advertise Bo here. If you know Bo, he's got a YouTube channel. He was talking about their first 12 games of V3 he played, and he says over all those games they had something like 5 assaults total in 12 games.
Sounds right.
And I was going to say that sounds right to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because it's never better to assault somebody. Never. It's always better to stop at 6 inches and shoot.
Well, and I think of like Saving Private Ryan and stuff like that, where they get to the trenches and stuff like that. When they're getting in the trenches, they're shooting their weapons. They're not jumping in and beating on the guys
until they run out of bullets.
Right.
And this is
it's a last result thing.
And this is where I'm going to disagree. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you that shooting at short range happens a ton in World War II. Guys going in with their knives and shovels and helmets and fucking brass knuckles, that also happened a lot. That happened a lot.
and I would place bets that the people that are initiating the attack probably had the advantage.
The element of surprise at a minimum, or an advantage coming in, because I agree. If you're running over open ground that's World War I, right? Then it doesn't work at all, right? That's crap. No. But
those dudes all got close to wherever their position was and then assaulted them inside their position. Right?
Yes.
Even outside of a historical standpoint, it was nice to be able to have an option to reliably remove a unit.
Yes.
Like, I don't like that bullshit. I'm taking care of it. It's gone.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's how assault was your answer.
Yes.
You can't do that anymore.
No.
Not the way you could.
It's much riskier.
It's not. Yeah, you don't have a statistical advantage going into certain
right
in most cases.
No, stopping at 6 inches, 5 inches, whatever, and shooting is strongly statistically better because you can't flub your roll and have your unit destroyed. And when you're fighting simultaneous or the defender's fighting first, that is a real possibility. As someone who rolls an ass load of ones.
Right, you throw your throws your 1s and 2s, and you only got 1 4, and they got double.
They got
6s
they got 2 2s, yeah, and you're like, or 2 4s, and you're like, well, shit, I just lost 10 guys. Right. It might be different if assault had worked in some fashion where like you just kept kicking the shit out of each other until a unit was destroyed, rather than the first guy to lose 1/6 off, is just destroyed outright.
Everyone has fanatic, so to speak, in assault.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That might have made it better,
like
but I just...
That's not V3, to be clear.
That is not V3, to be clear.
Mm-hmm. That would have been awesome, but no.
But that's kind of my feeling on it. And having covered both of these, I'm gonna voice something that I think is going to be a real problem, especially in competitive play. I don't think it'll be as big a problem in casual play. You're going to have 2 kinds of tables, I think, and it's going to be tables that are way too damn open, and guys are going to get their nuts shot off, and units are going to be pulling guys off the table like mad. Because anything that gets shot in the open in this game is toast.
Yep.
Toast.
Yep, done.
And the other problem is...
Anything that's not a full-size unit.
No, they're screwed.
Anything's not veteran.
Yeah. But the other side of that coin is, we're talking about putting more terrain. At a certain point, you're going to have a game where there aren't any line-of-sight lanes that are longer than 9 inches.
Nothing dies.
Right? And nothing dies.
Yep.
Until people get into that point blank, and then it gets ridiculously stupid where they have to choose between the point blank or the charge.
And they're going to choose the point blank, and
they're not going to choose.
Yeah.
It's choices made for them already.
Right.
Hang on. People can still make bad decisions.
Well, you're not wrong.
They'll do it once and be like, oh, I should have done that, and then never do it again.
Some people will do it 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, fair. All right, just beat your head against the wall. Fine, whatever you want to do. Feel free. Make your decision.
And now, in the rare instance, we talked about how Gurkhas were somewhat nerfed. This is the one place Gurkhas are actually still really good because they're the only ones that do something to change the number of attacks coming back at them.
Well, Hungarian or the Polish Cavs still do. They get 2 attacks each.
Did they keep their 2 attacks in the...
They cut the spears. They did. They absolutely did.
Did they?
Yeah, I saw it in the freaking book.
In the PDF? I guess I haven't looked.
Yeah,
I
must have missed it too.
Those minor nations then.
It's a choice at the bottom
of
it.
But cavalry.
They got horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
cavalry got hit with a Nerf bat, which, to be fair, probably deserved because cavalry charges were dramatically more effective in this game than they were in World War II.
What the fuck did they see?
I feel like
I don't see it
the Imperial Japanese spear squads also part of the changes to assault were in reaction to that. So,
Well, I mean,
No, yeah, Lancers still have it,
Okay.
Rick.
Yeah, okay. All right, it is in there.
Units equipped with lances get 1 additional attack in close quarters. May not fire their carbines while mounted. Lancers are, Yep.
and do they still have tough fighter?
All cavalry still have tough.
All
fighter,
cavalry
as
still
far
have
as I
tough
see.
fighter. Okay, okay,
But they also, cavalry always are 1 less cover save
yeah.
Right.
because they're giant horses.
Hey, that was a great change, though.
Versus what it was going to
Versus
be.
what it was going to be.
Oh,
The other one was that they're simply just going to get wounded 1 worse. So
that was awful. Like, they were unplayable.
I think they landed in a good one for what they're going to do.
Very happy medium.
Well, because
not
I
awful.
kept having opponents that had cavalry, and I'm like looking at their cover, and I'm like, well, you don't have any cover. I can see more efficient. He's like,
the
well,
horse
no,
might
it's
have cover.
It's an infantry model, so you have to consider them the same height as an infantry. I'm like, but he's sitting on a horse. Are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah.
It's a good
That's.
fix.
I think I agree that's a fair.
I think this is a good fix.
The first iteration you told me about, and I was like, I'm going to just shelf all this cavalry. I don't.
Right,
There's
yeah.
just fucking stupid if I'm going to play that way.
Right.
But this is very much a happy.
This
medium.
makes sense.
This makes sense.
Yeah, like totally reasonable.
Yep.
They're not broken. Although,
Yeah, how'd it get in here?
dude, I'm telling you, I saw the lances. I was like, oh, they're still in here. That cavalry is still available.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway,
Oh crap! We derailed Jeff.
no, because I'm trying to decide when I want to bitch about Army special rules. I'm going to wait for a bit, I think, still.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Let's maybe do that after the break.
Yeah, because I got a lot to say about that, too. What else do we want to cover? AT guns get a +1 to hit on. We talked about that,
Yeah, we talked.
Yep.
which is cool.
The spotters. I like the spotter changes here. This is one of my favorite things they've changed
Yep.
Yeah,
by far.
because
Right.
This was like the week
Yeah,
of
it's a late-breaking
this is,
one.
This is like Hooper putting the transmitter on the barrel as like the guy's trying to shoot.
Get his hands off.
Come
it.
on, Mr. Hooper.
Barrels out.
Barrels out, and he's like literally putting the transmitter like, go ahead, fire, and this like changed, like went with it.
That I like this change a lot. This is a good change. So any spotter can spot for anybody. I like this from a simplicity standpoint. Like,
And
which
that's why it was brought in.
Yep.
like which spotter can spot for which thing? Like,
Yes.
Like, wait,
which
was
one do I
that your
need to
spotter
kill?
for the mortar or your
spotter
spotter
for the artillery,
Well,
and then I
I've
thought I
got
killed the
5 of them
artillery
now.
spotter. This is the
Right.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
which so in
And
addition
that's
to
the
that,
only reason why it's in there is just to like you don't have to say this is spotter A for howitzer A. This is spotter B for mortar B. You know,
such a
it's
good
just-
change.
Well, and I'll add one other one. It's a good change because, as I read it, the forward artillery and forward air observers can also act as spotters.
Correct.
Which gives
They
them
can.
something to frickin' do after they've called in their airstrike or
that
artillery.
makes the air observer
It's supposed
not
to go run
playable,
into a
but
buffalo.
close enough.
Yeah. It makes them better.
Yeah. The artillery observer being able to do something afterwards is still really nice.
Although, all of that
Go ahead.
being said, spotters are a lot easier to kill now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything with few men.
If you,
Yep,
if you,
give 'em about three to four shots, and they should be fine.
but you bring like 5 mortars, and you have 5 spotters.
Well, I mean, if you want to pay for 5 spotters, knock yourself out.
yeah,
Like,
then that's an order.
that's an investment to save you from that happening.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is. But
You
gonna have a
spent
fucking
50 points for
spotter,
that.
damn it.
I mean, you've earned the right to have a couple fucking spotters.
yeah, you're going to have a spotter. You can have a spotter because you have all the spotters.
Yep.
You have the Oprahs of spotters.
You are the spotter.
Yeah.
The flamethrower changes were interesting. And
This one, we
Changes
did
from
not
2 to
play
3.
test
This changed a lot, and this last one went I never saw it in playtest. So originally the flamethrowers, so they went from 20 to 30. They were at one point they were 50,
Good lord.
which
They
seemed
went
like
from
ridiculous.
20 to 30 points. Yeah, there's 30 points now.
Yeah, they're 30 points now.
okay,
And
so
they
reasonable.
they used to run out on one tour.
yeah, they used to run out of fuel a lot more
Like
often.
half the
so
time.
bad. That was such a bad rule.
Did you say it was a
Horrible.
bad rule or a pat rule?
Bad.
Bad.
I was excited.
Aren't they the same thing?
I'm like,
No.
holy
I'm joking.
Ow, hey.
I'm joking.
So now they're just done in 1 or 2, which yep, we realize what they do, and they got the double end of the spectrum, and they also went down from +3 to +2 pen.
Yeah, they
Well, there's one
unless
more
you
thing
can
that-
show
there's
us where
one-
he got hurt by a
One more
flamethrower.
thing they got.
Yeah,
on there
this is
that
the one that threw me.
Any unit firing a flamethrower is going to take a pin for firing a flamethrower.
Yeah. They just made them unplayable.
Oh, I don't think they're unplayable.
I don't think they're
No,
unplayable,
they're
but
not
they're
unplayable. I
frustrating.
think they just
They're-
are just understanding how terrifying they are and what
Yes.
they really do, because they delete the piss out of
Exactly.
you. We all know that from
I
me, too.
suppose
Taking
they
into
will
account
still- yeah.
that things are going to be
I
harder
mean,
to
you
kill.
always roll 1 on the fuel anyway, so the 1 or
That's
2 is
fair.
not going to matter
That
to
didn't
you.
change.
Yeah, with things being harder to kill and shooting having been buffed, but things being more survivable, this is one of the few things that can still delete a unit with one hit.
Yeah.
More importantly, this is one of those things I believe, I have to double check here, can still chase off a heavy tank. Right?
Yes,
Because they still got a test even if they don't pen them.
correct.
Oh, interesting.
Because, I mean, I saw a guy at SNAFU a couple years back. He had a Brumbar or something, a big 11 plus, big ass enclosed German tank, and the dude hit with a flamethrower and he failed his check and lost it, even though it couldn't actually hurt the tank.
Right. The unit, the rule for flamethrower says the unit still tests morale.
Yep.
And that now includes fanatics too. There's no out for them.
Yeah, poor Japan, Jesus.
And so, I'm looking at my vehicle flamethrowers and going,
Yep. I
Didn't
think
have those shots.
vehicle
Jerks.
flamethrowers are
So
meat's
they're-
back on the menu, boys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They're 12-inch range. They're D6 plus 1 hits if they hit. And
Which they
they're
should
still
still
from
hit.
the top.
Yep.
They're just only they went down a pen value.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter. It's not about killing it. It's not about the number you kill. It's about putting the pins on and making them test.
That's it. How many? Yeah.
There's
how
still
many,
1 for the hit and another D3 on the target.
So max 4 pins. Yeah.
That's
And the firing unit takes a pin itself.
that's fine.
Yeah. So it takes. one
It's a
more
little
just-
actually. You know what? It's not fine. It's weird that an enclosed tank takes a pin for that.
The guy's getting hot in there. He's like, oh,
I've got a
I'm
question.
in an oven.
I have a question for
Shit.
the FAQ holders then. Does a vehicle flamethrower take a pin? So we'll have to see.
Yes. It says the unit.
Yeah, it does say unit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I disagree that it should, but that's what the rule says.
So
But it is what it is.
Remind you.
Yeah, I did double check that the other night because I knew the infantry did, and I'm like, nope. It says in the flamethrower rule, both in the infantry and in the vehicle
Okay.
section, it says the unit.
So caught it and made sure that it was there.
Yep.
But
Yes.
it's still like.
Yep.
Yeah.
They caught something because the vehicle also said it's D6 plus 1 as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah. I mean, flamethrowers are great still, I guess. But
they are, and they're well. I don't think it was actually mentioned this one. The fact that Panzer Shreks are 15 points
Yeah,
now,
they went up.
or Panzer
Yeah,
Foss.
Panzer
Foss are stupid fucking expensive.
Panzer
That's
Foss
so
went to
dumb.
15.
yeah.
Brutal. However, can we add the other one? Shaped charges, which is Panzer Shreks, Panzer Foss, bazookas, and I'm going to
Piats.
assume Piats.
I think so.
Yep.
When you
Yep,
shoot them into a
yep.
building, now do a 2-inch HE hit.
Yeah, D6.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, they're doing a light artillery hit? Really?
I told him.
A light howitzer,
I told him
yeah.
it should be,
Yeah, light howitzer hit?
Inch.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, do we foresee people taking Panzerfaust at 15 points?
Man, I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
1 or 2, and not the sprinkling of 2-3 or 2-3
Right,
per unit,
fewer
2-3
of
per
them,
unit, 2-3.
yeah.
You're going to see.
Yeah, I don't. It depends upon what do you think the meta is going to be as far as
And I think that's by
tanks
design.
go. So
Because there was a lot of pushback when that first came out, and he's like, this is the right call on these. And we're like, we're not going to take them. Then I made the right call. Like, God damn it, really?
They're significantly...
That's a horrible
Yeah.
design to come.
Well, they're significantly easier to hit with, so that does make them better.
Yes.
Sure. That
Yeah.
that is,
And they're
that-
useful
yeah.
against buildings.
Yeah.
What does this? Shit! Now I gotta look. Pat, does the rule say it
going
does a
in a building?
2-inch HE against a building, or does it say it just does a 2-inch HE when it hits something?
Building.
Okay.
Only
Yeah,
building.
just obliterates it.
well, which is
Well, I
a
mean that's a
D6,
legit question. Why does
right?
it? Why does it only do?
Right.
Why
Just
does?
D6
Why
hits.
doesn't
What?
it do an HE of some nature hit against guys in the open?
right.
Because history is dumb and inaccurately depicted.
I mean, no offense. If you put a bazooka round into a dude's chest, the guy standing next to him is going to have a really bad day.
Well, yeah.
I think if you go back and look at all of the changes that were made to these, like, right, to Panzerfaust and to flamethrowers, and you see how many changes he made, there had to be something that happened in the past that made him not like these units. I like, yes, flamethrowers need to be adjusted, but, like, how many adjustments did he give
I
them?
think the adjustments to flamethrowers are correct. honestly.
Really? They got a point increase. They got a pin increase. They got fuel decrease.
Lots of pen. Yes. Yeah.
Really?
I think,
yes.
I'm not so sure about the pen.
I honestly think they went a little too far. I've played against plenty of flamethrowers. I don't think they're that scary. Like, it is a viable option.
Well,
yes, they're still pretty viable, but it's like, how far do they need to go?
I think in the context of the rest of the changes and how scenarios are going to be played,
Sure.
I think they're in a good place right now. Well, vehicle flamethrowers may still be a problem, but regular flamethrowers, of course, that's if you can even grab them, depending on how the selection works.
Well, don't be British or Japanese in the main rulebook.
Well, did they get errated right day one? Everyone's got engineers now.
Well, they have engineers, but
so that
they
gives you access
can't
to the
put
platoon.
Flamethrowers.
Right.
Yeah, they can't put flamethrowers into the squad. They can only take the flamethrower team, which is the two-man
So that's a small two-man flamethrower running around, and they're so easy to kill.
Put them in armor carrier to hope to God they survive.
Yeah, that's not a viable option. They need to be able to have engineers with flamethrowers. Come on,
right?
That'll be the next errata.
No one. I'm just going to throw this out here.
We have to protect them, so we'll see.
Yeah,
these rules are fine with flamethrower. I'm fine with all these changes to flamethrowers, except they should just ruin infantry on a 2+. I'll just say it, because getting set on fire or not set on fire fucking sucks.
It doesn't matter how long you've been in the war. You're just on fire. You're still a human.
No two humans are not on fire. It's just what it is.
Well,
sure, if you gave them... I guess they got a positive in the fact that they hit easier, so I guess whatever.
They do.
But and maybe, hooray, they're not going to be as many flamethrowers, just because you have to take a fucking different squad for
you have
this
to take
to
a
happen.
particular squad to take them.
A different platoon,
But
you have to commit
but figure, so you hit on a 4+, but you have to move to get to point blank, because no one's going to let one sit there at point blank. So now it's a 5, +2 to hit, so now it's a 3.
Just 3, yeah. So you're pretty reliably hitting.
Yeah.
And there's no covers. There's no cover save.
Yeah, there's no cover. There's no save of any kind.
I guess it's ignoring the cover save too. Yeah, right. Fine.
It's pretty good. It's pretty freaking good.
If you fire at a building, you have to target an opening.
Okay.
But there's no cover save. Well, there's no cover save building, but still, it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're pretty freaking good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You've talked me off my ledge a little bit with the fact that it ignores cover saves. Is at least a bonus instead of just a bunch of negative shit.
Right, you're gonna have to be good with
what I've gone through. What I've gone through in playtesting, I will 100% say that these are now where they should be.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to agree with Pat. I think this is fine.
Okay. Well, it's got to be fine because
we're not changing it. Yeah, good call.
We're not getting him to change it. So that's. I mean, I'm grateful it's not as bad as they were originally.
Yes, it's better than having them run out of fuel 50% of the time.
Yeah, that was fucking brutal.
That was awful.
Let me ask the stupid question.
Well, and if they do run out, you get to replace them with a rifle.
Yeah,
they don't run off anymore. Right?
Yeah.
They stick around as a small team.
I mean, right until like 6 riflemen shoot that squad. And
I was going to say until like 4 guys shoot them, and then they're done. But still,
well, if they're in a squad of engineers, it's still
that's different.
I think that's when you're definitely bringing them. A small team, you have to be really careful with if you're bringing them. Yeah. As people, if they don't think that's the case, will figure it out right away.
I was going to say, small teams that get into point blank range are not going to have a long lifespan.
No.
So
especially with
those
MMGs.
people who have realized that, oh no, there's no longer a benefit to being a small teams to being hit. You'll realize there's no benefit to being a small teams
at all.
Right.
At all.
You'll bring more dudes.
It doesn't matter if you had.
There's no benefit to being a small squad.
You're just done. You're just done.
Right. Just bring the many bros as you can.
Well, I was going to say, and the way, machine gun teams are going to survive now by being at long fucking range.
Yep.
You're going to win by outranging the guys with rifles.
In some,
yes, you're going to be outside 24 inches and still hitting them
and being on ambush, which means if you're coming in their line of fire,
they can shoot you. Yep, 100%. Right.
Taking pins on the way in.
100%.
And they're overlapping fields of fire because you have a couple of teams there.
And you better deploy them the hell in hard cover.
Yes, as best you can.
As best you can.
That makes them viable, though.
I agree. It makes them viable. Yeah. Flamethrowers, I think, are viable. Machine guns are now viable. Bazookas and Piats and Panzerschrecks are going to be in a rough spot just because how easy those teams are to kill. Because they need to get within at least 24, or is the Piat still 12?
Yeah.
Still pretty bad.
Those guys are going to struggle.
It's emphasized the pain in the ass part of his torpedo.
Yeah, British anti-tank is in a little bit of a pickle, I think.
Well, because they also don't get engineers with flamethrowers.
Right.
They get flamethrower teams.
Can you get an anti-tank rifle at least? I might go with those, honestly.
I mean, 25-pounders are cheap still.
Which are not anti-tank guns, and therefore don't
Do
get
not
the
get the
plus
plus
one
one.
from fire.
Shoot.
To shoot.
Oh, is a 25-pounder in there? I actually haven't looked.
Yeah.
Does it get the anti-tank?
It
bonus
doesn't.
if it's-
Yeah. Yes,
Well,
it does.
it can It can fire either way.
Right. If you put it into the anti-tank mode, does it get
yes.
the plus one? Yeah.
Oh, it does?
Then, that fires an anti-tank gun, yes.
Well, I know it says it fires as an anti-tank gun, but it doesn't explicitly
it's not
say
an anti-tank
that
gun.
it has the anti-tank gun rule.
Yeah, you should probably make sure that's clarified, huh?
That would be good. That would be a good one to put in the fact and put it in writing.
I would agree with Dale that it does not state that it is an
Right,
anti-tank
so I didn't think it
Fires
got
as
the
an
plus
anti-tank
one.
gun.
It doesn't count as being an anti-tank
because
gun.
the British already.
No, this came up with this came with the ZIS 3, and it was addressed, and I don't remember what the result was.
Well, it
'cause,
ain't in the PDF.
again, this was the playtesters like going back and forth, and Alessio had like off in a dark corner had the curtain pulled, and he was the wizard that no one could see again. So,
Well, this is one I would recommend passing up the chain for a fact, just to clarify that. Because the British do have a 6-pounder anti-tank gun that would theoretically...
oh, it's crap.
Well, I know it is, but theoretically it fills the anti-tank gun slot, and the 25-pounder is an artillery piece that can shoot anti-tank rounds.
Yes.
So that would be... And the ZIS-3 is the same thing. That'd be a great one to clarify.
It might be, as we take a break here, I might just skim back over and see if we answered that too.
Well, I'm going to throw one out
This might be
further.
in there, too.
I'm happy if you guys answered it in the playtest group, but it's not. If it's not in the rule book, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't exist.
We have ways of making this happen.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's all we're telling you to do. Wink,
In
wink.
the
Wink,
same
nudge, nudge. Pass it up.
In the same vein,
Yeah, I feel like it's been asked, and I thought it was answered. I just haven't seen it.
How long do we have to wait for the next FAQ?
just as a
I
heads
can't
up,
answer that.
the sniper entries also explicitly state that the second man acts as a spotter.
Yeah.
So I don't think that means that he counts as a spotter, then can spot for everyone.
Wrong kind of spotter.
Yeah, but
in
by
the same way,
reading,
But
does the 25-pounder count as an anti-tank gun? So it's the similar kind of verbiage.
Right.
and you know what? I'm going to lobby that spotter for the sniper gets to be a spotter, because why not?
I tell you, it's not called a spotter anymore. He's got to be called an
That
observer
might
or
make
something,
that might make
That might make
snipers
it
worth
take a sniper
taking.
team. Yeah, I might take a sniper team then if he counts as a spotter.
If you just get a free spotter for all your artillery and mortars.
Oh my god, I feel the headache coming on really hard.
I didn't agree with it. I saw the Facebook argument, but I was like, yeah, he makes a good point. I don't want to say it's right, but he was not wrong.
This last point here, as far as things you might have missed, this is the one item that came out of playtesting that I was really excited about. With the new snap to action and how that could be applied.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
Because
this is going to get
the
abused.
platoon commanders, we're taking them now, and the snap to action's like super worthwhile depending upon what's happening. And so we were sitting there. I was playing Jeff, and I had a couple of trucks with SMG units on the board, and the platoon commander right behind them. And I asked Pat, I'm like, "Can I snap the trucks and the units in them in the same action?"
Since they're soft skin.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we kind of went back and forth because I'm thinking I'm just going to roll these trucks 24 inches down an advance move and then unload the SMG squads and point blank range and shoot the shit out of Chuck's army. And we kind of went back and forth, and so we shot that one up the chain, and it turns out that you can in fact do that. So
Yes.
for now.
Yep.
An officer on the ground can snap to action any units, including their transport, as long as it's open topped or soft skin.
Which
Into or out of.
Yep. Which I'm going to throw something out there that I talked earlier about not making open tops suck, and we didn't accomplish that. Open topped armored transports definitely got buffed
Yes.
from what they were.
Do you have any idea how hard I fought for that?
I can imagine, because we've
Do you have
been
any
pushing
idea?
for how many years of Recon Rumble have you been pushing to make open topped armored transports better, right?
We were hoping
Yes.
the half tracks would be a little cheaper, but
They are.
I
They
was
did.
hoping
They
for
dropped
I know,
a
but-
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, they did.
On average, 20 points.
That doesn't feel like a lot. It's only two spotters.
They did drop though, so that's
I think I'm actually fairly happy
I can't
with.
please you, Rick.
I know, I'm joking.
I'm fairly happy with where half tracks ended up.
Yeah, and they're not auto removed. They get.
They're not auto
a
take.
chance.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not auto
That's
take,
great.
but they're a good choice now.
They're viable.
Viable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm happy with them.
Right. I forgot about they don't necessarily get removed. That's a huge win for them too. I wish it wasn't a test, but is there a way to make it not a test?
No.
Be closer
don't-
to it than the enemy.
Yeah, I was gonna say be closer friendly.
then it's not a test, right? But I'm just saying is you can't make it better.
Or leave a dude on board, one of your 20-point lieutenants.
And don't
spotter.
armored open tops transports.
You
They don't have to test. Oh, I can't.
No, they're not automatically removed. They have.
They're
to
not
test
automatically.
instead.
They have to test. That's right. Thank you.
They test.
They're not auto.
They test to stay.
if they're unoccupied. Yep.
Right. Right. You could do that before, right? Keep a guy on there and it doesn't pop.
I think if I'm going to corner case something here, I thought the rule was that if you had a spotter on a half track, you can't shoot a weapon. But if you only have one gun on the half track, you don't need anybody on board to shoot. And I think that vehicle counts as occupied if that spotter's on board. In which case, it's not going to have to
put a
test.
spotter on board.
Can you put a spotter inside of it?
Why not?
Why not? He moves normally.
Why not? Especially if you're going to have 10 spotters. Why not? And then later in the game, when after all your spotters are killed after turn 3, that guy can get out of the truck and be like, "Hey, I can spot, bitch."
But you have to give them the order dice to not fire one of the artillery units or mortars.
I mean, for one turn.
I guess.
Well,
How do you know-
spotting
how do you know
isn't an
which
action. He
one
could get out of the truck
you
and you could
can't
use him for
fire?
line of sight. Right?
Right. No, you still to move him. You'd have to.
You
give
can't
him an
move a
order dice.
spotter without an order dice. You have
he
take
has
the
to
order
move
dice
with
from
order
the
dice.
from the artillery.
Sure.
or
So
mortar
one
units.
of your artillery
So
pieces
one of your 6
or mortars will not be firing.
Yeah.
But
Right.
only one.
But
one
don't
that-
worry.
yeah.
Don't worry. If you have 6 of them, they've only got 3 guys. They've been mowed down by.
Well, I got to say, to reestablish line of sight for your 4 artillery pieces that are firing indirectly,
You mean your rainy one?
yeah, whatever. Totally worth it.
I mean, it makes your 88 work again.
Right?
That's got more than 3
It's
guys.
got like 17 guys dancing around in a circle
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
so.
It's like he'll be still.
Yeah,
around.
the new Japanese meta isn't bamboo squads. It's
No.
all the extra crewmen they have on their artillery.
Dale, I'm going to tell
Charge
you,
them an extra point per stick, man.
Going-
I got my vengeance.
going
on
by
that
the
one.
book here, I think there's a case to be made for armed machine gun Jeep spam from a Japanese army because they're cheaper for some damn reason.
Yeah, that the crazy weird point discrepancies is something else. That's going to probably get addressed. I would hope.
And you got
But that-
your
Property process
That's
is
the
something.
early doors fun that people are going to be having with the
Yeah.
crazy lists. And another thing that I liked was I like the composition structure, how they changed it up with the platoons. It's a fun puzzle, and I'm excited about it. I wish they'd attach special rules to platoon choice and things like that. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll see that moving forward. But I mean, it's different, and I like that part of it, so I'm happy with that. So,
It's interesting.
yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk some more about some of this other stuff that's happening with.
Let's take a break first, and
Yeah. Let's take a break. Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about more of this stuff.
Hey,
and
quick question for the team here, Pat. Are we picking a new song since it's now 3rd edition, or is Waltzing Matilda being left with V2?
I haven't gotten that far yet, man. Jesus.
Praise the Lord and pass the salt.
Yes, there's got to be a song about that.
Oh, look.
Salt. I'm just Google searching this really quick. There's a Soviet. Holy shit!
Salt, pass the goddamn
No,
salt.
there's a Soviet song from World War II called "The Song of Salt." It's a Soviet naval song.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, it won't be that one.
Oh, come on.
There's a little
right,
song.
well,
we're pretty.
Whatever
positive.
it is, we hope you enjoy the music. We'll get back and talk some more V3
All right,
and
sounds
other
good.
stuff.
Catch you on the far side.
All right. Hope you enjoy the music.
blue guns are growing and the barroom wind is blowing beneath that sunny sky. Where my daddy and mother are waiting for me, and the pals of my childhood once more I will see. Then no more will I roam when I'm heading right for home along the road to Gunderguy.
Hello, old-timer. How's things? They're pretty crook. Things must be pretty crook round these parts, mate. What with no rain for your stock and them all dying, you must be having a pretty crook trot. But you ain't got it all on your own, blimey no. The other day I asked a bloke if he had any old clothes he didn't want. Sprucely took a look at me and said, ain't them you got on old enough? Yes, things is pretty crook, all right. I knocked on a bloke's door the other day, and when the missus comes out, I gets down on me hands and knees and started eating the grass. I said, Missus, I'm not hungry, I'll eat grass. She said, you poor man, go round the back, it's much longer. Yes, things is crook, all right. Well, suppose I'd better be jogging along. Hooray, mate, hooray. I'll see you again.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the music.
It was fantastic.
Always good.
Loved it.
Hey,
I love me some Spice Girls.
Oh, jeez, no. The World War II Spice Girls. You mean what's their sisters?
Get their names, but yeah.
Literally just
the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B.
Right.
I know the fucking songs. I just can't remember the names.
Right.
Somebody's sisters. Everybody knows it and is screaming at it right now.
Yeah, the Andrew sisters.
That's great.
Andrew's sisters. There you go.
Yeah,
Yep. That's tracking.
Yeah.
I would say, speaking of things that took a moment, we were chatting before the break. I think before we even came on air, we were talking about you could enter a building on advance or run, and if Finland can then use their special rule to go into ambush.
Yeah.
We did discuss that in the playtest group actually relatively recently, and it was, since it says the unit cannot fire after they enter the building, specifically says it cannot fire, that would apply to them not being able to go in ambush when entering a building. That's not an official Warlord FAQ.
But if you want to read tea leaves, that might be an official Warlord FAQ in the future.
That's
right.
The wrong answer. I'm just going to say that right now. That's the wrong... I mean, okay. First, don't go in buildings. That's a horrible choice.
Well, yes.
Let's just put
start with that, right?
Yeah.
Unless you've removed all of the enemy's HE.
Sometimes you have to go in the building.
Sometimes you might have to go in a building.
If you're playing partisans,
they're not actually firing. They're just putting their dice in ambush.
Right, with the intent to fire later.
Right.
Yeah, but that's later. That's not after a building.
That's still part of the activation.
Right. The next turn they can fire. Like there's nothing stopping them from shooting their guns.
Right. I mean, you can stay in ambush.
Right.
At the end of the turn.
Yeah.
So fringe case.
Very fringe case, but
not so fringe case.
If you play,
I also think that's the wrong answer. But
thanks. Thanks for backing me up, because it says flip the dice. It doesn't say issue a fire order or issue an ambush order. It just literally says flip the dice to ambush
and fire later.
Write better rules if you're going to do stupid. Like if that's what their intent was, then that's fine. But write it better.
Who are you talking to? Write better rules. You found a different game.
Well, fair. Come on now, whatever.
Okay, and the other one that we talked about was the anti-tank guns getting the +1 to hit, and whether that was the 25-pounder with its versatile or this S3 with its versatile. Mm-hmm. The consensus is that it needs to come from the anti-tank gun slot. Thereby, it has the anti-tank gun special rule, much like the flamethrower has its flamethrower rule.
I agree with that one.
So,
I could go either way on that one. That one doesn't bother me. Fine, sure.
I agree with that one because otherwise, why would you ever take an anti-tank gun in a British army? Or
wouldn't anyway. You're not going to anyway.
No, you might have the +1 to hit. You might actually take them now.
the +1 to hit rule for the anti-tank gun was explicitly added to differentiate the anti-tank guns from the artillery or howitzer selections, to give them something special.
Yes.
And if you let that bleed over into those versatile weapons, you're defeating the whole point of it. So I'm happy with the consistency of that rule.
Yep.
Right. Well, and in all honesty, I forget, you can have anti-tank and you can have artillery. It's not like you can only get one of them.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
you've got slots for days.
So to follow up, because I haven't actually dug into the Army lists, does every selection from the anti-tank slot by default have the anti-tank rule?
Yes.
So
If it's
bomb
an
dogs have a +1 hit?
if it's an anti-tank gun,
Okay.
Yep.
We
So
keep saying gun, but that does not mean an anti-tank rifle. That just
correct.
means- yeah.
That means an anti-tank gun from the anti-tank gun
like an
slot
artillery piece, but it's an anti-tank weapon.
would be an artillery piece. Yeah.
Something you need the artillery platoon to take.
Right.
Yes.
Which is the only rule that kind of gives you that special platoon rule, Dale. Essentially.
Well, yes and no, because you can also buy recce for vehicles that normally don't have recce in the reconnaissance platoon.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yep.
true. Good point. Yep. Those are two. Yep.
But those are the only two I can think of right offhand. Maybe more will come. Who knows? I
That's
don't know.
cool.
Maybe they'll
I
start
doubt
kicking
it.
out theater books with new platoon selector.
See, that is an interesting thing that could happen.
That is what I want.
Right?
Now we just have to wait 3 years for the campaign books to start coming out again.
If they start releasing, if they get like a U.S. and the British book out, and then be like, and now we're doing some theater selectors, people would be up in arms. That'd be hilarious, though. I'd be on board.
So the bomb dog and the suicide stick guy are all considered an anti-tank team, not an anti-tank gun.
Sure. So they don't get the +1.
AT guns.
My dog is a gun. I named him Gun.
I forget. Did the FAQ actually address the fact that there's no extra slot selector? Because I saw in the book at one point they accidentally had that in, and I
Well,
don't know.
that doesn't apply because none of those Army special rules are a thing anymore.
Right. No, but I mean, like, if you read in the Armies of U.S.
Oh, relax, bud.
Oh, yeah, my dogs are barking, too. Speaking of bomb dogs.
Yeah, right. They heard you say it.
Right.
Boomhound.
Don't
Boom
do it.
wound. The boom wound. Only the U.S. one has the 1-for-3 MMG.
Yeah, and that's not supposed to be in there, and I don't see that got adjusted in the FAQ, which is a big miss.
I'm going to take that one further. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look at the book before I say that. I was watching some of our fellow Bolt Action personalities on their channels last night, specifically Bo and Alistair, having an interesting conversation about what they think is going to be an interesting list. And they were of the opinion that 1-for-3 counted for each MMG team in a heavy
my
weapons
God.
platoon. So
Yeah,
there'd be
so
like
15.
12 or
15.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the intent either.
That is not the intent. Those were supposed to have been scrapped.
That would make sense. If you can take an entire platoon of them, why should someone get to make 15 of them? That's silly.
I mean, I know the U.S. likes machine guns, but damn.
That's 500 points for 15 inexperienced machine guns?
Son of a bitch, though. The way that
50
rule
a
is
point.
written, extra selection, medium machine gun only. You may take up to 3 medium machine guns as one machine gun selection.
Well, yeah, that's how it's written.
It
Yeah,
doesn't say
that's
just
how
one
it's
time
put it.
either, so you could take 15.
That
Good
as
Christ.
it's written, that's what it says. I
And
don't
that's-
think you should
that's
go
in the
rush
book.
out and buy 15 of them. I can foresee something changing in that.
Yeah, and that's still in there for the stick bombs and the bomb dogs, which for the anti-tank team selection for Soviets, and that needs that.
I want a horde of dogs.
Yeah, a whole pound puppy.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what?
that's at least
I want
0-3 in the rifle platoon.
I want to run 15 MMGs just for the hell of it.
Because it's an anti-tank team and there's no other option for that.
Well, they got the implement. I don't know if that made it into the main rule book.
Oh, it did.
Did it? Bill's looking right away for that one. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot easier to hit now, right?
And I think that's good. I was going to say that's a lot better now, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a better selection.
So, but expect that in particular, all I can control is SNAFU and Recon Rumble, and that will not be allowed for those.
Aw, but it's in the book, Pat.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be.
But it's in the book.
Yeah, so the anti-tank team, which is outfitted with an AT rifle, can be upgraded to the Ampulement for 15 points. So
Right.
You really should just let them do it one time because it's never going to happen again.
Well, who needs 15 MMGs on the
Me,
table?
me.
Everyone. Warlord needs you to have 15 MMGs.
Well, there is that.
I mean, think of all the MMGs they could sell and all the dog. Do they make a dog bomb model?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, yeah.
Several of them, in fact.
Think of all the dog bomb models they could have.
Boom
So-
booms.
Yep, and both of them come with the extra selection rules. So
Yeah, that's not supposed to be in there.
What if you bought like a miniature that was like a Bloomborough one, except it's a dog holding the stick mine, and you use that in your Japanese army?
Oh, jeez.
Just go
Just-
full meta on
Just fetching the
Fetching the bomb stick.
being a good dog and
Yeah.
fetching the bomb stick.
it. Sorry,
it's a lot of Ampulement teams. So
That is a lot of Ampulement.
Yeah, that's a
Ampulement.
lot.
Jesus.
yep, 24-inch range. Again, there's no over half. 2-inch HE with the flame rule on vehicles. So
And that's fixed, right? So you're not going to be moving anyway.
yep.
Damn, that's good. That's way better than it used to be.
I mean, you could buy it in inexperienced and your aces. So
Yeah.
because you don't suffer you still suffer -1 for veterans.
-1 to hit for inexperienced.
Yeah, so
for
go with
direct fire,
So
yeah.
still go with regular. Yeah, regular direct fire hitting on 5s.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty
Hell no,
good.
you're hitting on 4s.
Yeah, you're hitting on 4s if you're regular.
Oh my god, that's so fucking brutal.
That's a lot of gross.
That's a lot of fire. It's a lot of fire.
All it takes is one good wave of shooting, the whole squad's gone.
For 40
Yeah,
points.
for one of them.
Yeah, for
How
one
many?
of them.
How many are you going to be able to shoot, Pat? If they're going to have more units than you.
And they're gone, but there's cover saves, and
Yeah, you're going to find that one guy that always seems to roll 6s, and his shit will survive everything.
I hope to be that guy.
I will never be that guy. That's why I hate cover saves, because I can't roll for shit.
Well, there's the thing, too.
Oh, I guess we really haven't covered the errata or FAQs or anything like that. So, anything worth mentioning as we
I think
now that that's out?
In case you live under a rock, we should probably mention 2 or 3 things from the errata, because they're kind of important.
Yeah. Some people have seen things. Well, everyone's seen it if you're paying attention. Which one's the multi-launcher one?
The multi-launcher is the biggest one, because
That's the big one. Yeah.
if you don't have the errata, you're going to be... If you're in the middle of
Surprised.
building your 10th multi-launcher,
Right?
You shouldn't.
you should probably
Slow
pause,
down.
slow down,
Yeah.
because now when it fires, it's not 1 pin, it's D3 pins for itself.
Yeah.
Which means maybe you'll only roll 1 pin, and that's great. But you might also roll 3 pins, in which case I hope you've got that company commander babysitting. I mean, maybe you'll get 2
Right.
rounds of shooting before you have to rally.
Yeah.
Conversely, you'll probably get 2 rounds of shooting because it can't use a spotter now, and it'll just die. So 6 of one, half a dozen.
Could
another.
multi-launchers use the spotter last edition?
No,
No.
No.
I was going to say, I didn't think they could.
they did not have spotters last.
Spotters were
Yeah,
dedicated
okay.
per
Oh, yeah,
piece.
per artillery piece. That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But it was explicitly said in the FAQ that they do not get spotters.
Cannot use spotters for line of sight and also receive D3 pin markers, whether they hit or miss the target.
Yep.
Yeah, just firing.
It is kind of a bizarre anti-intuitive or not intuitive way of doing it, but it makes sense from trying to hinder multi-launchers a little bit. They could have just made them really fucking expensive.
Did
They also could have made them
were
slow
they
to load.
were they slow
load,
at
yeah.
some point? I feel
They
like
never had the. There was a Russian one
I think there was
that
something
took a
that had
pin
that. Yeah.
when it fired.
Okay.
The M30.
Yeah. It also did a bigger explosion, but
So the M30 was D3 pins, and you also had to do a rally order before you could fire again.
Right, so you had to load again, regardless
Yeah.
of whether or not you wanted to.
Yep.
and I mean realistically, a multi-launcher is a bitch to load, right? Like you fire it once, and it should take a long time
It's
to
like
load.
30 tubes here. Let me just put a missile in each of these.
Well,
things.
I mean,
That'd just take a sec.
even if it's
Yeah.
6 tubes, you want to be real careful loading those rockets.
Yeah, it's not the same as just dropping a rocket on top of a 1 tube for a mortar
Right,
or something.
yeah.
So
I'm imagining the revolver reloaders. You know what I'm talking about, like the 6.
You get a quick load around her?
Yeah, the quick load.
Guy runs out there with a new cylinder, just slaps it in.
It's got the cartridge and putting it in with all. It's like the biggest, most muscular dude you've ever seen.
Yeah, it'd have to be. Holy shit, Nikes.
Yeah, you have to weigh it. Have to weigh a ton. I just think it'd be hilarious. Anyway, multi-launchers are still kind of okay, even with that, but they seem less good.
Yeah, and don't be cheeky and try to think that your artillery multi-launcher isn't affected by this.
Oh my god. Yeah,
it's all multi-launchers, however they're affixed. If they have the multi-launcher rule, they are taking this.
Yeah,
so.
It says that it's for vehicles too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says that infantry.
The argument it says whether infantry or vehicle, and they're like, "Well, it's an artillery unit. It's not an infantry unit." You know what? Go get bent. That ain't right.
Yeah, that was a hell of a discussion on Facebook.
That's a keyword. That's a keyword fail, but yeah.
Right. I mean, take the stuff in the parentheses out, and it's correct.
Yep.
Is there even an infantry multi-launcher selection?
Not yet.
No. Yeah.
And nothing from history that I can think of that would count as one.
Right.
Yeah, there's no multi-launcher team.
Like 6 light
like
mortars
instead of
in
a
a
bazooka,
squad.
you're just walking around like 4 multi-launchers tubes or something.
There's probably some guy somewhere that rubber banded a couple of bazookas together, and it's just.
There are things that that actually did connect two bazookas together, but it's still not going to be wouldn't count.
No, they stuck them in a Jeep.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you had twin bazooka Jeeps. You had the Bog Ward, I think, the German one. There was 2 Panzer Shreks basically stapled together on a tank or a tracked vehicle. But,
sure.
yeah.
I believe Hungary has one like the double hammer or something.
Yeah, they've got one. But none of those things should be counting as an infantry multi-launcher. So,
No.
Right.
I should just say artillery vehicle, but whatever. I mean, if it's a multi-launcher, it's got the rule. Don't get cheeky. That's right, Pat. Don't get cheeky.
Yes.
There's
It's
2 or
too
more
early.
weapons on the
It's too
same
early
amount.
in the edition.
Yeah, too early to get cheeky yet. This is just because they had an example for how HMGs fired, and it was wrong. So,
Yeah, we're all in the honeymoon phase of this edition. So,
right?
Right. Should still be enjoying it, not trying to bash trucks through
bend the
loopholes.
shit out of this thing. Yeah.
Right. Give it a month.
Yeah. Wait till you get bored with the basic stuff, then start adding spice.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You can also take multiple anti-tank teams in a heavy platoon, by the way. You can have 3 of them in that one.
In a heavy platoon.
In a heavy weapons platoon, yeah.
Oh yeah. Heavy weapons platoon.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you can get some mortars, some MMGs, and then you can get your 9 boom hones. So
Yeah. Is there anything
actually
else?
18, but whatever.
Actually, I think the only that sounds
27. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you get 3 per a squad, and there's three selectors, which means you get 9 squads. Yeah.
I mean,
9
that's
what
what
it
it
is?
is.
yeah, 9 order dice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that'd be 27 hounds if you want it to be.
But you're not doing the extra selection. We just talked about we're in the honeymoon phase here.
Well, yeah, but that's what's actually in the book, though.
Yeah. This is the honeymoon phase. It's going to go away. This is the honeymoon phase. Is when you want to say release the hounds, and it's the whole army of.
We're talking about what's in the book, not what
Everyone knows that you get away with a lot more during the honeymoon phase.
Right. Oh, for sure.
You don't get the dolphined.
Well, if you are, you're telling us not to do it.
I am. Yeah.
You're no fun, Pat. Like, come on.
What? How is this new?
Yeah, fair. Good point. You're fair. That's your.
Yeah, stop being fair and let us break this.
Just
Actually, let us play the rules as written for better or worse.
Yeah, I want to play this on TTS with
That's what
Alessio
we've been doing for the
until he
last 2
changes
years.
his Shit.
Well, sort of. I mean, we haven't seen the rules as written. We've
Well.
had the rules as Pat described.
Rules as described. Yeah.
Oh, shit. One other one from the FAQ. Sorry, I have to throw us a little bit on track here. Big one other one from the FAQ is we were talking about this. What happens to guys in a truck if the truck runs off the board?
Right. they're
Yeah. Gone.
Caboose,
You lose the
they're
unit,
gone.
too.
So,
They don't get out. No tuck and roll here, boys. You're just fucking off, and that's it. That's the end of that.
That's also a huge rule change that we probably could have discussed earlier. Is that when you
Well, let's discuss it now.
if you flee for some reason to a table edge and you would go off the table,
Gone.
previous edition you would stop at the edge, right? It's a
I've had lots of the vehicles stop at the edge.
Yeah, invisible
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yep.
Now they just fuck right off. Is what happens.
On the other side is you can also make your pivot and go off the table and come back on. As long as you're, as long as you, as long as you're done your movement, you're fully on the table.
Nobody can it can't block you off the table by putting a bunch of shit.
Pivot block.
Yeah. You can go around them and stuff. Yeah.
So that's huge. If you touch the border edge, you're gone.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, brutal.
So easy on that multi-launcher on your back line there. You might want to squeak that forward another few inches.
The other change with multi-launchers, if this made it in, was...
Wait, hang on. In order to reverse, an enemy has to be in sight, right?
Has to be in your front arc, yes.
No, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Being in line of sight or being in sight is not the same as being in your front arc.
Is it both, or is it...
I think you have to... Isn't the way that it's written, because I read this a couple nights ago.
Is this under FUBAR?
Yes. They put us in the book there explicitly. They talked that SNAFU is the same, but it was...
that was not us.
But
if many more.
If an enemy is not in line of sight, you can go down instead. Although that may have been explicitly for infantry. So I felt like that was a little bit of a change. Well, I don't know if it was a change, but that's an important
the
piece.
FUBAR table, friendly fire went 1 to 3 instead of 1 to 2.
Yeah, it got worse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the panic, it executes a run order and must move as fast towards the closest table edge. If it moves into contact with the edge, it flees the battle and counts as destroyed. If no enemies are visible, or if the unit can no longer move for some reason, it goes down instead. That's under the FUBAR.
So that's if an enemy is visible, it doesn't have to be in the front arc, just visible.
Right. Yes.
You'll flee towards your closest table edge.
That's really poorly written as well.
Well,
so that's the only time you'll be running away from is if there's an enemy visible, which it's important to realize that to make sure that you're maintaining visibility. So if you're trying to spook people off the edge. So
sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to rely on getting a FUBAR.
Well, no.
But if a vehicle fails an order check, it still backs up, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be the more likely scenario as far as like stopping at the edge or not stopping at the edge.
It has to reverse correctly, right?
Right.
Yes.
And that is regardless of whether or not it can see anything.
And now it doesn't go straight back, it can turn. Right? It can move around shit as it's reversing.
Well, it can move around shit, but it can't. I assume it can't turn to avoid the back edge of the table.
No.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So
it can avoid stuff.
Can't be given a down order. Let's see. Down if vehicles treated normal. Let's see. Note that the reverse. Okay, so if they've been able to do so, has a vehicle has a visible enemy in its front arc, it must make a reverse move if able to do so before going down. Front arcs are explained on 135. Thank you. Note that this reverse move has to be straight backwards with no pivots allowed. This represents the vehicle reversing away from danger and then coming to a halt. If unable to move because it is mobilized, it just goes down. If there are no visible enemies in its front arc, the vehicle goes down where it is. If a vehicle is unable to comply because their models are impassable terrain, it can and indeed must maneuver or try to reverse going around the intervening impossible terrain or models by the shortest available route. If reversing vehicle reaches table edge, it retreats off the battlefield and is destroyed.
Okay, so it goes straight back if it can, otherwise it will turn if
It'll
has
go
to.
around crap that's in the way.
But that just the non-FUBARs, you have to be in the front arc and visible. But for FUBARs, it's any visible.
Any visible.
Okay.
And it's also, this isn't vehicles. FUBARs of infantry can run off the board on a FUBAR.
Right.
On a FUBAR. But on a failed order test,
they'll just go down.
Right, yep.
Yeah, only vehicles will reverse. So, okay.
That'd be weird if the whole unit starts making beep beep noises and just starts backing up.
Well, flee. Run away. So.
Run away!
I feel like that's a little bit of a difference where you still have to be able to see an enemy, essentially. I don't remember that being in last edition like that. Written the same way anyway.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit different.
Is the friendly fire written any better in this edition?
I seriously doubt it. I don't know.
It does not move and opens fire against a friendly unit, mistaking it for the enemy. Place a fire order by the unit. The opposing player controls the firing unit. That's the same exact. It's just
So
People just didn't read it in the previous edition.
yeah.
It's mildly confusing. It's just but once you've done it a couple times, it makes more sense.
Yeah,
Right.
only open up fire on a friendly unit if it's within 12 inches of an enemy unit. So,
Right.
Yep.
And it can't just be any unit on the damn board.
Right.
no.
Like I've had some people try to explain to me before, and I'm like, no, dude, your German's not that bad. No,
It's pretty bad.
pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a big change too.
Yep.
But I don't think it's bad.
No.
Losing your unit kind of sucks, but
Right.
don't do that.
Well, I mean,
How's that sound?
that's maybe why dice advantage is good.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. That's exactly correct.
That's why.
that's one of the reasons why it filters or not filters. It plays into it. So
Sure.
Cool.
Okay. Well, this is all leading to the next. part
any
of the
other big hits?
conversation.
No other big hits on the
those are-
fact or errata?
Just,
Okay.
Yeah,
most of the rest of the fact stuff is pretty meh.
Yeah, like, come on.
Right. Those were big ones though, because those were actual rule changes.
Right.
Stuff that was missed, but not like they just forgot to write D3 instead of 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And now the errata and the FAQ are two separate documents.
Hooray.
Oh, really? So when did that happen? Was that? Oh,
I think that was the case. Yeah.
mine was all in one document.
Mine was all in one too.
That's because it came from me.
Oh.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Good point.
Here's
Yes.
Pat making it easy for me.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, this is. Yeah. I was like, what? This is normal. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. If it means they update one more frequently, that sounds great. But otherwise,
I don't know if that's the
that'll-
case. What the case is, I just know that when it came released from Warlord, like they did the intelligence report, it came out as two separate documents.
Sure. They are trying to keep their page count down by keeping it as 2 documents.
They want to keep her down in the 20s.
Yeah. They don't think we can do math.
Right.
Just also just a bit of a follow up. There was a Ask Me Anything on the Bolt Action subreddit, and there's a bit of information that Alessio provided. There's a little bit of curiosity as to the PDF, the minor nations. They're missing some couple of nations, and so folks are like, "What's happening?" There's no Chinese or Australians and things like that. And Alessio said that there are plans in the works to have a big update to include a lot of those minor nations, but there's no timeline for that, as most of the resources are being dedicated to the armies of series of books. But they are aware that there's some stuff missing, and they're hoping to kind of address it in the future. So hopefully they can get that, bring those people in.
I'd like the rest of my Hungarian army in the PDF would be nice.
No, there's probably a lot of Chinese players that just like a fucking list.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, Australians would be the same way.
they're probably still misusing Sparrow tactics anyway.
Yeah.
Right, because they changed the rules. Yeah, good point.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's just one person, but no, you're right. It was more than just the one
It
person.
ended up being a lot of, because they were written really weird and they changed it.
Right,
Right.
and then,
Three
they
times.
errated the rules.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was going to say about that, but I saw that answer and I was a little disappointed that they're like, we don't know when, but just good luck.
Right.
Just good luck.
Yeah.
Very, obviously, it was obvious that Alessio was like, I don't participate in some of the stuff that they're talking about. Like, someone was asking about models. He's like, I don't have anything to do with the models. Which, that's fine, copping out on some of that stuff, but the Australian answer and the Chinese answer was kind of disappointing to me. That was my
Someday.
takeaway.
Good luck with those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, this is old brain here. In version 1, the Australian list, I believe, was fan made, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Just
There was
accepted?
yes, yeah.
And I
Bolt
think-
Action Alliance, I think, did that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not like the community hasn't had to fill in the gaps for things before.
No. And I think they took a lot of that content and actually made it the book.
Oh, they did. They did
Yes.
eventually. It just took a long time.
Really took a long time. I would hope it doesn't take as long again, because that would suck.
Because they kind of already have the information,
You'd think
They
so.
have a lot
but
of the information.
you'd think so.
right?
one would think they could figure it out. Having now sitting here looking at my book in my dimly lit office, I'm very frustrated by the little fold. I thought I was going to be okay with the fold.
At least I'm not trying to brush coffee and ink stains off the page constantly.
But now I look at every page and be like, oh, why is there a crease on this page?
Yeah,
background print.
Once you see it, it's infuriating.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks so much. Come on, you guys. Anyway, whatever. That's just minor beef. That'll grind my gears in 5 years when we don't get a new edition.
I'm going to say, so like, this is a comment. A lot of people were on both sides of the paper used debate here about whether it should be matte or glossy. I'm okay with it, although my book feels lighter than I think it should when I lift it. Maybe, I don't know if that's something else anyone has noticed.
Oh, I kind of agree. It is a little lighter. I actually don't mind the matte.
It's a weird size.
I know that's a weird criticism. It's strange to me. Also, some people love new book smell. This thing gives me a freaking headache. I'm gonna have to let
this
it
one
air
smells like. It smells like it's got a weird book smell for sure.
It smells of osprey.
But I've smelled Osprey books before. To that point, Jeff, if I had to choose between it being 50 pages less and being better quality paper, I would have chosen that.
Yeah.
But for the size of the book and the content, like that's fine.
It's fine.
I guess
it's fine.
It'll serve. Let's see how we're talking in 2 years.
Right.
If all of our pages are falling out, the spine is gone and all the stuff like.
I mean,
I will say the other frustration, or not a frustration, but the creature comfort I've been finding in books is the bookmark. They didn't include a bookmark. But.
Yeah, I kind of like those, but I've already got a bunch of tabs and highlights in mine.
Yeah, but still, just nonetheless, it's like I kind of like
I like a couple of them.
Yeah, at least one, so I could remember where I was.
Especially when you're reading it, it's like, see page such and such. Like, well, hang on, let me throw my bookmark down and go see page such and such so I can come back, rather than have to squish my finger.
Right, I'm holding 3 spots with my fingers.
Right,
whatever. That's just a minor. I like that, but it's not a necessity, so to speak.
Be on the lookout for SNAFU branded bookmarks.
There we go.
Right? Can you insert?
Check out our website.
Maybe that's the giveaway this year for SNAFU.
Some books you can actually put one in. This book is not. That's not possible.
No.
Bummer. But you could just do normal bookmarks, or like a tab set. The Pat Moline tab set.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Pat, you got to start a YouTube channel. You just show people how to properly tab their rulebook.
You can put a bookmark in this one.
Well, in the books, but like in the spine, right? There's some.
No, you can. My spine, I can fit it. Well, I guess it depends upon how.
Oh, maybe I can.
I can.
Sure. Yeah, you might be right.
You just got to crack that sucker. Show who's boss.
Yeah, just chew on it for a second.
Yeah.
That was the other thing I noticed. Just tangenting into weird stuff that I saw. There are people getting their books in North America, and they were so poorly packed that
dented the
they're just getting dented to shit. And I was like, I would be sad if I got a dented book.
Yeah,
mine's not.
No, ours aren't. Like ours are great.
Ours are great.
But our UPS and FedEx guys must not suck up here. But there are definitely multiple cases where they're all chewed up in an unfortunate way.
Yep.
That's disappointing. I would be disappointed if I spent good money and then I get a box from Warlord and it's not packed well enough to protect the cover.
If my book's going to get dented up, I want to be the one that does it.
Damn straight. It's got to be a battle wound from a tournament somewhere where I was trying to carry too much shit at once.
Or, the guy arguing that Nebelwerfers, are artillery, so they don't count for that pin rule, and I can smack him with it.
Right?
It's
really tough to hit someone in the head with a PDF.
It's got his dental indents on your freaking cover. Sure.
I feel like those people only exist on the internet.
You're right. I don't think those people exist in real life. For the most part.
They're certainly not in our community.
Not in our community. That's right.
I think it's more egregious online for sure. People are willing to go further to support their claims than in real life.
I think you're right.
And you normally are at a tournament, and there's a judge that can tell them they're wrong. So
they just tell them just to go suck a lemon.
Yeah, you just hold your hand up and go, judge, and someone says, no, you're wrong.
No, never. Then before the judge gets over, they're like, never mind. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, let's keep moving.
Yeah. As soon as you call them on it, yep.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
Some people just think they're right, which is fine, but these rules could be interpreted multiple ways sometimes.
I find that hard to believe and not consistent with any product that Warlord has put out in the past.
None whatsoever.
And
All right.
games companies put out in the past, yes.
I was going to say they're not unique in that regard.
We've
Not
been
at all.
bullshitting for another half hour after the music here. Let's get into some meta stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk some meta.
Let's
Please,
talk
let's
a little
talk some
meta.
meta.
What do we think is going to be big? What do we think it is? Where's
Big
it at,
or
baby?
effective?
Tiger once.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Meme,
Well,
that's
sorry,
a meme army.
those are big.
That's a meme army.
Big blocks of vets.
Tiger, big blocks of vets.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I could see
Big,
that.
fantastic.
Blobs. Blob action.
Not smaller than 8 men.
Yeah, I think 8-man is going to be your minimum size.
Yep.
Regular or vet?
Right, regular or vet. I think regular might start pushing towards 10, maybe. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
10
eight,
is
8 is
yeah.
as small as you dare go.
Most units can only get to 10. So
Some, yeah.
Quite a few that can go to 12.
there's a few that go to
A
10.
lot of American do.
Well,
Yeah.
so
Partisans go to 20.
it's, all of these decisions are going to be will be impacted by the amount of terrain you're playing on your tables, and the scenarios how you win your scenarios. So just from a general standpoint, assuming that killing enemy units, removing order dice is still going to be important, then survivability will be at a premium, or offensive capability that allows you to eliminate dice efficiently and quickly, like with one roll.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's take a mild step back, because this is a question I asked Pat when they announced some of this stuff. Are we going to see 1,000 point, or do we think it's actually going to be 1250? Because I think in one spot in the book they say this has been balanced for 1,000, but then like all of their army list samples are 1250, and I'm pretty confident that they were playtesting at 1250. Yeah,
Yeah.
Do we have any opinions on that?
I like 1250 because you get more choices.
I,
But
I felt like we were swinging towards 1250.
Yes.
I think it lets you get an extra platoon.
Well, because you really want that platoon commander, and you're going to need at least minimum 2. You want the company commander, and you're going to need at least 2 platoon commanders. I mean, there's basically chucking 100 points,
Yep.
100 or so points just in HQ stuff.
Sure.
So the 1,000, sure, you kind of maybe have 1,000, but then you're going to have 100, 150 of tax, for lack of a better term. Granted, they're order dice, and you can certainly beef up those units if you're so inclined to do so. But they don't go above 3. And currently in the book, you don't have to pay for their weapons upgrades until such time they decide that becomes a thing.
Yep.
Sure.
So I realistically think it's going to be 1250, and you're just going to kind of see what you saw at 1,000 with maybe a little extra here and there, because now the special weapons cost is going up. SMGs are now 4 instead of 3. Assault rifles went up. Bars went up. Shotguns, I think, for the Marines are 3 points.
Same. I think that's the same.
Which is the same. Panzerfaust are 15.
Oof.
But all of those, outside of the submachine guns, depending upon how you're deploying them, are kind of less effective somewhat. I think the LMGs are going to shine big time.
LMGs at 15 points each. I am not opposed to including them in an army at this stage.
Well, especially
because it's 36-inch range,
and you're not going to be assaulting, and so normally you wouldn't include an LMG in a unit that you were going to be moving, advancing forward, and ultimately assaulting with, because that's just wasted points there. But now no one's going to be doing that, and LMGs got better. So, I think that's going to be the choice.
I'd agree with that.
Germans like them.
Germans really like them.
Yeah.
Yep, so adding LMGs where they're available. What about vehicles? What are people going to be doing with vehicles, do we think?
I think you're going to see a lot of people doing tank platoons early.
Yeah, just to get it out of their system. Or
I don't think tank platoons are going to be where it's at a year into the game.
What about light? How about light tanks?
I don't foresee.
And by light, I mean 7 or 8 armor.
Yeah.
with, wow, I mean, MMGs are
Did
just
the
out.
did the Zippo
on
or the
vehicles.
what's the other one? The whatever the flamethrower.
Flamethrower tanks are mostly in the book. Zippo's in here.
Yep.
Okay, how much was that again?
I want to say about 150.
Well, I mean,
That might be
small
worth
one?
it.
those flamethrower tanks, depending if you can get them cheaply.
Yeah.
So 210 on a Sherman, and then replace all weapons with a turret-mounted flamethrower for minus 35 points. So that's
180,
no 175.
175. Yeah. Okay.
And is that an 8 or a 9?
That's a 9.
There's a Stewart version of that. How much
There
is the Stewart
is a
version?
Stewart version
Stuart
of it.
Satan.
The Satan, yeah.
Replaced with a flamethrower. That is straight up cost, so it'll be 135 for regular.
For 8 up, it's 7 up or 8
That's
up?
an 8 up. Stewart is
8
an 8
up,
up.
vulnerable construction, yada yada.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to get nut. Yeah, it's.
I kind of like it. I don't know. It's a thing.
I mean, do I feel like you might see a platoon of 5 flamethrower Stewarts? Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I think you might. Yeah.
Flampanzers.
I mean, you can do it. I mean, you can do it with armored cars with Soviets. So I mean,
BA-20.
Yeah.
Although
So they're like
wheeled-
105.
Yeah, I don't know. Depending how much more terrain goes on the board, wheeled might be at a bit of a disadvantage.
Do we realistically think that people are going to change their terrain meta for this? Like, I think that there might be some that recognize that they should, but are they
I'm
actually
changing
going to?
mine.
So I think I said this. I think I said this earlier in the episode, but I'm going to reiterate it now. I think you're going to have a terrible time between tables that don't have enough terrain on them, and it's just a gunline war that goes absolutely nowhere, or tables that have too much terrain on them, in which case nothing dies.
Right.
Right. They can't. Nobody can shoot anything.
Right.
They can't see anything.
Exactly. It's going to.
Yeah.
I don't. We're going to have struggle to find that happy medium, I think. And
Sure.
I don't know if there is a happy medium with the way
I
the
think
rules
they
are written.
give some kind of guidelines in the book as far as terrain they think.
Yeah,
is
we
appropriate,
talked
but-
about it where they said you should have 4 pieces of line of sight blocking terrain, and I said that needed to be corrected to say 6.
Minimum
How big?
Right.
6 inches.
Just
cubed-
6 by 6.
Yeah.
Like,
Roughly.
I used to say, did they define the size? Is the question. Sure. I think it's going to be we're going to see a change over time with that for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, I think. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't want to play a game where you're just basically like Civil War shooting each other from across the table. Just march forward, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also going to come down to, when you've got objectives to get to.
Right.
That would be forcing you to move.
But
And
is it
getting to that point blank is going to be something sweet.
Are you putting your objectives in terrain or in the open?
I'm going to put all of mine in buildings.
I like your chaos, Jeff.
I'm going to put all mine in direct line of my quad HMG AA gun.
Fucking A. Well, you
Or
do
your-
the quad
or your
autocannon.
Your 3.
Right,
of
well-
them, yeah.
Quad autocannon, baby.
Yeah, Soviets don't have anything like that, sadly. So
No, they get
Yeah, it's-
amphiblemets.
Yeah, right.
But that's not quite as good, but it's still pretty
it's
awesome.
24-inch range. Yeah.
Put enough of them in ambush, it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, and
Except they're 2-inch HEs.
so I feel like MMGs are definitely going to see the table more.
Yes. I
Yeah,
think they'll
for
see
sure.
the table.
Well,
I think they'll see the table.
Will they see any action? Oh, let's talk about small teams because I think that there's room for small teams. I think some of you guys might think otherwise.
Yeah.
I think if you bring enough of anything, it's going to overwhelm some people.
I think if you're going to bring small teams, there better be a lot of other targets on the table.
Right. Like, I think if you're bringing a machine gun spam list, right, Pat's like, well, we'll just take it off the table. Like, your unit can only shoot one of them. Right? You're not going to be able to kill all 5 of them. I guess you have 5 units. Sure, you can kill 5 of them.
Well,
But if your blob is shooting my machine gun, that I will take that 35 point or 40 or whatever it is, the 35 or 50 point exchange for that.
So your MMG has a range of 36, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And rifle blobs are going to be outranged to start with.
For the most part, for 24, yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, your small teams that have a longer range or can hide behind line of sight blocking terrain because they're using a spot are fine. The shorter range ones, like the Ampulomet, is going to be in a little bit of trouble. The Piat teams are awful. Flamethrower teams, awful. So, yeah.
Without some kind of support. Or engineers, I guess. Yeah, flamethrowers and engineers.
The idea of a flamethrower team, just the two-man team, in a Jeep, racing up the table to jump out and flamethrower things, I think can still be viable.
Well, yes, until everyone learns that they need to take a couple of MMG teams and set them up in ambush, covering those lines.
Absolutely, but if they're covering that, then they're not doing something else.
Well, I mean, the ambush. So that you're right. But your ambush, that ambush, MMG on ambush. I mean, even in the last edition, you were using those to great effect
all the time. Yeah.
So there is a back and forth, but I guess in that scenario, the flamethrower team could be used.
Yeah, I do not think it's the optimal option. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
The optimal use of flamethrowers is on vehicles or in full engineering squads.
Right.
And flamethrowers are great because they're one of those one-shot weapons that can delete a unit.
They're one of the few things that still deletes units. Yeah.
How about take your engineering flamethrower squad and put them in a recce platoon transport?
Yeah, I mean that's a great place to put them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw the Buffalo went down quite significantly in point cost.
Yes.
All the armored transports went down quite significantly in point cost.
Unfortunately, the Buffalo did get smaller in size too. Apparently, it can't carry quite as many men, but whatever.
It had the anti-Viagra pill.
It dropped it down to 30 men instead of 48.
24 instead of 36.
Well, the LVT-4 is 7 armor and it's 30 men.
No, that's the that is the LTV-4.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it right here. It says transport 30 men.
What?
Are you in the British or the American version?
Oh, I might be looking at the British version.
You're looking at the LVT amphibious transport, the non-armored one, which carries 24
I'm looking
men.
at the. I'm at the Fort Buffalo, but it's in the British.
Oh,
list.
You're in the British book, yeah.
Because it makes sense that they're not the same.
Does the British one have an autocannon?
It took a few years before they corrected the British one to also have 30 people.
It does. It's an upgrade.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, it has the option to put an autocannon upgrade on the front. Polston.
For 35 points. Yeah.
That takes up 6 guys, I guess.
I'm going to throw something in here, and I think I've bitched about this once other time. I like that they're saving space with how they do the upgrades for vehicles.
Yeah, it's awful.
But it's awful to actually work through and read.
Yeah, the worst are just the random open top armored car. There's 50 different options.
Right, this paper version of a drop-down menu kind of pisses me off.
That's pretty
well,
cool.
if you ever look at the app they released at the same time, it reads the same way.
Yeah, it's consistent with the app, which I probably won't ever use, but that's okay.
My favorite, my favorite thing I've been seeing is that they apparently upgraded or updated a bunch of tanks to have flak. And if you have seen screenshots, it's like 500 times.
I believe that glitch has been corrected.
Oh, that's good.
It didn't used to have it at all.
The follow up to the whole small teams, they are significantly easier to kill now, which is why they're kind of a big negative.
Yes.
And so, when Pat says, they're just going to be pulled off, the MMG teams, he's not. That is definitely a huge risk. So,
very legitimate concern.
Yeah, it used to be, you're hitting me on 7s, especially once you got down to 2 men. No. Yeah,
or at least you're hitting me on
5s,
right, or at least you're hitting me on 6s. Right. Even that would be better than.
That's definitely not the case. And if you've got 3 guys sitting there and you got hit 5 times, which definitely is going to happen, it's going to cripple your team. So, and they're very easy ways to pick up. They're the easiest ways to pick up order dice.
Yes.
As far as just nominal investment, because everyone's going to have large squads carrying rifles that are going to be shooting you for 12 shots at 24 inches. And
do you think this makes the case for your small teams always being veteran?
Veteran's still the best upgrade you can buy in the game.
Yeah, especially now that it's easier to hit.
Yeah,
that extra pip of leadership is going to help. And
the 4+ cover save for hard cover, which I assume you'll be in, or they're shooting across, followed by needing a 5 or 6 to kill.
Yep,
pretty good.
You've got it wrong though.
I do.
Yeah, it's the 5-6 to kill, followed by the 4-up cover save.
Who fucking cares? The math works out the same.
I just proving a point.
The math is basically the same.
Statistically the same.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't matter, but it does.
But it's stupid. Yeah.
It's very. Dumb.
It doesn't matter, but it's dumb.
I think on the vehicles is where it bothers me the most because
because they.
Why am I going
to
to bother to roll
save.
all my armor penetration rolls and then you're like, oh, it sucks to be you. I saved it. You're like, oh fucking hell! Why did I waste the last 20 seconds?
For the vehicles, they said they want you to do the cover saves first.
Well, that's not how it's written.
Yeah, it is.
What that doesn't
in the vehicles.
I don't like that.
God Almighty! You're like we're making a simplified, easy, streamlined game, and you're like, but if you're rolling at something different, roll differently. That's not what. What are you doing? That's not good. Grumble. I'm gonna grumble.
I'm gonna grumble too because what the fuck?
Beer and pretzels.
Because that's dumb as shit. Like, why would you do that? Like, we want you to roll like this. Statistically, it's the same.
But.
Where do they word in here? Vehicle cover saves.
Beer pretzels.
Yeah.
I want some cheese with these pretzels.
Cover saves. Shooting against vehicle, it's best to take the cover save for the vehicle, if any, before rolling for damage, because the procedure to score damage on vehicles is more complex than against other types of units.
It's a time-saving feature.
Just
do it for everything.
Do it for everyone.
Well,
I'm sorry, it caught.
The book does give you permission to do that if you want. So
I don't like books that give you permission.
Yeah, I like things to be written one way or the other.
Like, if you want a competitive rule set, you don't give permission. You just set a rule, say, here's how we're doing it, and call it a day. Statistically relevant or not, it doesn't matter. Anyway, okay, all right, we've beaten that horse until the next episode.
All right, so small teams, much riskier.
Very.
They are,
yeah.
But you can take a lot more of them, which I think can be an interesting choice. I don't know if it's going to be good or not yet, but probably not. But
I like the
probably not.
Yeah, I like the notes or the additional point being made that maybe this is why you're running them as vets. So that's good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
What do we think about dice spam? Lots of dice, because man, I feel like I can make a list with an ass load of dice in it. Even
I can too. It depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I remember going in the playtesting of this, and you go and can I pin out a unit?
Yeah.
That got really tough to do.
And so, with an order dice spam list, then it's kind of that might be an idea that you're trying to go for in that kind of a scenario, because it's a lot easier to hit. It's a lot easier to put pins out.
I think you still have to have some quality dice. Like, I don't know. I don't like, but you could do that pretty easily.
I don't know that that's a winning strategy, but it could be a fun one. So I don't know.
I go back and forth. Like, how many medium howitzers is good?
Well,
yes.
Yes, is the answer. Yeah.
What are the options?
5.
Awesome.
Yeah, what are the options in the list that can do a lot of damage and cripple units? Your flamethrowers and your big HE.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Or if you're able to alpha strike a full SMG squad halfway across the table. So
that is a danger in itself, yes. I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of variance at the beginning. I think there's going to be people that dice spam. I'm intrigued by it. I think there's something to it, right? If you have, right, even if you think about it, so what do you think normally at a 1250 you're going to have? Like, on average, what do we think? Like
20?
15?
14
20?
to 18 dice.
Yeah,
20.
18? 20? You think the average is going to be 20, Jeff?
Yep. That
seems insanely high.
I think it's going to be 20.
With just that's going to have a shit ton of
small teams in it. Sure is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to have 4 mortars. It's going to have 3 machine gun teams. It's going to have 2 or 3 anti-tank rifle teams.
Sure. I mean, I could see that.
3 officers.
That's the kind of list I'm building, but with some extras.
And then the thing is, having that many more order dice in the bag means you're going to do them more often. You can make use of that. You're going to get to put pins on them before they put pins on you. You're going to kill their small team before their small team kills you, and that's the name of the game.
Yeah, right.
Until unless they don't have small teams. So
then you're going to shoot at the bigger teams a whole shitload and just pin the hell out of them.
Right. If you have a bunch of stuff that can shoot at one unit versus 3 units, that's still better for you, even if it's small teams.
Yep.
As long as you can have that Alpha Strike that you're talking about, Dale, would put a hamper in that list pretty hardcore. Yeah.
Well, but that's why you got the 3 MMG teams to cover the lanes of approach.
Yeah, to cover the ambush on that stuff.
Right. And I still think there's a play there, but it requires finesse and can be shut down. So,
yeah. It's so early to say what we think the meta is going to be.
And your platoon commander can sit back there and snap all your mortars.
Yes.
Right, and if you've got one that's locked on, and you got that order dice advantage, so I do think there's still dice spam.
If you've got 5 mortars and you get to fire them all, statistics say that you should probably most likely have one that's locked in around 2.
Yeah. Well,
and they can all use the same spotter apparently.
Conversely,
and they're not at risk because they're hidden, right?
Right.
So
conversely, Dale, with your plan, you get that first dice. Your company commander could snap 2 trucks full of SMG teams before the other guy gets to put his shit in ambush. Drive up the board, dump them out into hard cover. They machine gun the holy hell out of 2 units.
In point blank range.
And basically just delete 2 units.
And they're definitely deleting small teams.
Oh yeah, totally deleting small teams. They're going to delete 5-man squads too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And severely cripple 8-man squads.
Right, and so you're alpha striking because you're trying to eliminate order dice, get those kills, because hopefully that's a win condition.
Yep.
Or
getting on an objective, yeah.
Right, and it's good objective play, especially if you have to move across the board. So I think alpha strike might be part of it, or highly mobile. Can you flame vehicles could you kind of consider that as an alpha striking unit as well?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So,
and okay. I think multi-launchers are not as good with that D3 pin system, but opening turn in a game, if there's not enough terrain on the table, if you snap all 4 of your multi-launchers, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Especially if there's some buildings.
What about...
Can you still target buildings with them?
Yep.
What about infiltrators? Okay. Because infiltrators now... you can set up anywhere within 12 inches. So not just on your side of the board.
I'm kind of curious.
Anywhere outside of 12 inches.
Yeah. Right.
I'm curious if we'll see outside. A drawdown. Like by the end of version 2, we had a lot of units that could forward deploy, right?
There's much fewer of them.
Very few in the actual book here.
Yeah. Right, snipers and spotters. Did the Soviets get their scout squad?
I think they did. I'll have to look here real quick. So, Soviets. So the snipers, regular infantry squad, tank hunters, going to be fanatics, kind of skis, veterans, tank hunters, tough fighters. I don't see the scout squad. They got their tank riders though.
Mm-hmm.
Their assault engineers, scout squads.
They did get their scout squads, or they didn't?
Yep, they do.
Let me turn the page. Cavalry, motorcycle, scout squad. They did.
Yep, and they got the infiltrator rule.
Right, I was just looking that up, which is interesting in itself. But
only 15 points each.
What about outflanking?
What about it?
Well, that's
still a thing.
That's an easier way to get across the board without exposing yourself to all the fire.
I believe I saw that you only have to reveal the squad coming in and not all of your squads.
Well, here's my problem with that is that there are at least 2 armies that have no, you don't get to do that. So it's a viable option until you run into one of those armies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the Italians you can't run on the board.
Right.
Right. So I guess it does become a riskier option, but it is one of those ways one of those avenues which is available that gets you across the board because shooting is so much easier.
Yeah.
Without taking a bunch of fire that might put you into an advantageous position or something like that. So.
Yep. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a way around what initially felt like it was going to be a very static gun line change with version 3. So
originally it was very static gun line.
It was, yeah.
Yep.
So does an infiltrator unit also get the hidden special rule? Do they get +2 to their cover save?
No. So
okay.
The infiltrators get that extra +1 to their cover if they have a fire.
They do not have a fire.
If they do not have an advance or run order.
Oh,
on them.
okay, yeah, okay. That's what it said. You're right.
Yep.
But can they also be hidden?
Well, that's
that depends on the
scenario.
Yeah, it's a scenario depender.
Yep.
So sometimes they could theoretically have +2. Right? Is that what? Yeah, it's an additional +1 modifier.
Yeah, the hidden basically, again, still doubles the cover bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get to a 2, theoretically.
Ones always fail.
Yep.
Right.
You get to a 2 plus cover save, though, yeah.
Yeah. You could be in hard cover with infiltrator and
hidden.
Yep.
And you'd be on a 2.
I mean, that could be a very aggressive play style.
Yeah.
Right.
Except I roll 1s all the damn time, so.
Right. Even a 3 up cover save is still kind of nasty.
Especially with a bunch of veterans that you're willing to kind of sit and hold still, which you were doing with your veteran scouts anyways to start with.
Right.
So
yeah.
While your 12 ampulaments advance up the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. 12.
Well, they're advancing, just getting far enough up so they can shoot.
What a weird, wacky list. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's...
I think we're going to see a lot of wacky stuff happening right away.
Which should be fun, right?
Guess.
Well, and you know what? Definitely try it, Operation SNAFU. Come learn the game with all of us.
Yeah.
So I guess if you go down, you could still get to a 1, even though 1's fail. But, well, okay.
Right.
Yeah. 1s always fail.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll accept that.
Yep.
Yeah, infiltrators still have a place, especially since Scout Squad still exists.
Yeah, and again, you're assuming that eliminating order dice is part of the win condition of the scenario.
Right.
What you're looking for is the most efficient way that you can pull order dice off of your opponent. And so if they have a lot of small teams, that gives you an opportunity. From a shooting standpoint, the best way to eliminate is either with a flamethrower, a direct hit with HE, or point blank. And so infiltrators, especially if you've got overlapping squads,
I love this.
Gets you closer. So you just have to find those things in your list that can kind of do that. We really haven't talked about autocannons or anything like that. But that's another one of those things that I think are going to get a lot of play.
So there's another change to the autocannons. Now it maximizes individual, like if you hit with 4 1-inch HE, you maximize those 4 individually on the squad, rather than having to have them all connected.
There's no more snaking them. It's
correct. They maximize to the squad that they target.
Every guy can still only be hit once, though.
There you
right?
go. Thank you.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Still, those quad autocannons are going to be brutal.
Oh yeah, they are.
Got some model up, my friend.
Yep.
So my Germans got some.
Yep.
And my Americans got some quad HMGs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because 24 dice is absolutely brutal.
Plus 110 with that range.
Yep.
48-inch. Hello.
Yeah, that's going to kill some infiltrators.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. 24 dice cover or not, somebody's going down.
Well, I want to do the math. Come on now, we got to do the math. I'll say do the math.
Well, it's so.
On
Your
veterans
88s?
in hard cover, it's about 3 kills a turn.
Any 88s?
I think Rick's 388s is viable.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I wish they had not gone up in points.
You can direct
That was
fire
my only
those.
beef.
You can direct fire those bad boys, and
To the next table over. The range on those is freaking shit.
well, I mean, indirect you're not going to be doing it because it's too And with the modifiers to hit, it's actually you're probably more likely to hit direct fire.
Yes, much more so.
Yeah, you're right. You're a good point, actually.
Much more so. In fact, indirect fire kind of isn't as good now because it's so much easier to hit on direct fire.
Right.
Except if there's a lot of terrain.
And
indirect ignores cover saves.
That's the other.
That is the other good part about it. Yeah.
Well, indirect ignoring cover and the fact that it can, depending on the indirect, you can use any spotter from anywhere.
Or FAO.
And so you don't have to be in line of sight. So.
No, not the sniper.
Yeah.
Really not.
Let us have it, Pat. Come on. Till they put it in the errata. Let us have it.
I need to send Marcus an email.
Don't send it too fast. Let's let this ride.
Yeah, he's a busy man.
Let's see how this plays out. This is going to be fun.
I'm sorry. I'm backtracking here because I've been checking the cost of flame tanks in each list, light flame tanks. I'm kind of angry that Stuart flame tanks are actually really good.
Why are you so angry?
Well, because I was hoping those people that bought all the DACA Stuarts were going to be like, "Oh, sucks to be you guys. You invested in this." They're going to be like, "What's a flamethrower now, baby?" Damn it!
Yeah, just shorten up that.
It's hull mounted, right?
No, it's
on
turret.
A Stuart. Oh, it is turret. Okay.
It's the Satan that's hull mounted.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm just tired of seeing Stuarts.
They're so cute.
Because what did we say? They're 135.
Just checking here. The Stuart starts at 135. Replace all weapons with a turret-mounted flamethrower, coaxial MG, and a forward-facing MMG in the hull for free. So 135.
135,
which is cheaper than any other army can get them, except the Italians with the L6.
Well, the Soviets
they still have some shooty too.
The Soviets can do it cheaper, but it's armor 7.
But it's wheeled.
And it's wheeled.
Yeah, it's wheeled.
Yeah, that's an 8+ light tank.
It's not that much cheaper.
Tanks turn the same as wheeled vehicles now.
Yep. So it's more mobile.
Sure.
Yep.
Oh, I guess I haven't checked.
Tanks and vehicles both have 2 turns.
Oh,
Son
interesting.
Of a
okay.
Bitch, I think you can give it recce too.
Yeah.
The British can.
Yeah. Well,
so can the Americans.
The American Stuart flamethrower tank can have recce.
Right, the British can't.
What a
they get recce, they have to tear their turret off, which is weird.
Nightmare.
Please tell me there's a Lend-Lease here in the Soviet list that I missed.
Lend-Lease does not exist for the Soviets yet.
Boom.
Oh,
thank gosh.
No. Actually, that's
that's probably better for everyone. Like that would make the Soviets pretty OP at this point.
So.
With just our get-by lists, that would be pretty bad for everyone else.
They just got to get you by. I imagine the first one, which you announced is Germany, allegedly in January.
That's what the thing they released at Game
come
Day
with that
said,
one too. Yeah,
I really despise the get you by for basically 2 years. That's not get you by. That's 2 years of lists.
It's rough.
They're anticipating the longevity of this edition.
Sure. You're not. Yeah, great. So we're going to get 2 years, and then the clock starts on a new edition.
We get 2 years of finally all the armies that were represented in World War II are finally have books for V3, and then they can start working on V4.
That. My goodness.
I threw up a little in my throat there.
It's like, what are they doing? That's an atrocious timeline. I'll be retired by the time the next edition comes out.
Well, good for you.
If I'm
I got
lucky.
some solid financial planning.
No.
You got you there.
No good find. Yeah, no, that's not true. I'm still confident I might retire.
He ain't retiring until his kids are out of college because who can afford to?
Right. Well,
they'll be playing
schools.
V6 in college.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. There's no way I can put them all through college. Not on my salary. Anyway, are there any other metas that we think are going to exist?
I can tell you metas that from V2 that no longer exist.
Yeah, let's go down
Those
that
are
rabbit
nice.
hole. Let's do that.
Japanese assault armies, basically DOA.
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to be really sad about that.
I mean,
no one's sad.
For as much of pain in the ass Japanese were, did we ever see it?
I played against it a little bit at World Open War.
Yeah, I threw Dale against it a lot. Because
3 of my opponents were Japanese.
Oh no, that's bad.
That's all right. That was fine. So,
but
you had the body count to deal with it, but even then, it wasn't.
I think I went 2 and
Didn't
1.
work out.
So,
All right.
That's not bad. Yeah.
That's really good.
but yeah, I don't. It's definitely taking a big hit.
yeah,
I am just grinning the satisfaction that they all got charged +1 for their sticks. That was
instead of a negative, they get
instead of just like 5 points for unarmed, whatever. They got charged for their sticks. That was one of the few things I really hammered with Alessio. I'm like, just give them a point for their stick, and he's like, fine.
something.
They are almost certainly the only way you would do an assault army, though. So.
Yeah,
Yep.
with the changes to the Japanese army rules, I just don't see it as being a viable strategy anymore.
I don't either.
I forget where the Fnatic option landed. It landed 2 or 3 per model because it went back and forth so much.
Fnatic is 3 per model now.
Is it
It's
3?
3.
Okay, it did stick at 3.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So
I know that's what it was in V2, but for a while we were doing lists at 2 points for Fnatic.
That would have been too.
Well, now Fanatics aren't as strong as they were before.
That's true.
Yeah, they nerfed that rule.
They're basically just they're basically just they win losses in hand to hand.
Yeah.
Is what it is now.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I don't think that, again, another part of why I don't think that Japanese list is viable anymore is the change to Fnatic. Change to Bonsai, change to Fnatic.
Right.
Do they
rough.
still get it for free?
yes,
Japan does, yeah.
No, everyone else gets nothing for free, but they do. I shouldn't have
well,
said
the
that.
upgrade.
Yeah. It's plenty of units get
They
upgrades.
just all count as free.
Never mind.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
So basically, Fnatic now is just they're not routed when their pin markers exceed their morale, and if they're defeated in close combat, it counts as a draw. So,
Yep.
So
they're still taking the heavy damage morale test. They're taking the morale test from flamethrowers, so that's
they may run away. Run away.
Again,
Right.
indirect buff to flamethrowers until they change that again.
well. This was
Yeah.
there was a brief moment that the flamethrowers were running out on a 3+, and the Fanatics were 2 points.
Right, and I
I don't recall that working well for everybody.
and I don't think there was a points change adjustment when we were running those, but yeah,
No.
at a 3
No,
up,
that happened.
Yeah.
That happened in April this year.
at a 3 up,
It went
it was
back
like-
and forth a bit.
Well, okay. So we covered Stewart spam. Do we think Stewart spam? Sorry, I'm switching gears here. Do I think Stewart spam is still a thing?
With
with
flamethrowers,
flamethrower
yeah.
Stewarts, yeah. Do I think machine gun? I don't think that 4 machine gun Stewart exists in the book, does it?
Yes.
I was just saying, I'm here right now.
I don't think it actually has as many guns as it had in our last edition.
I don't know. Can you decipher the multiple entries?
Oh dear Lord.
So the base is coaxial and hull mounted. Okay. You can have an additional pin. I don't think you do.
Which freaking tank is it?
Stewart. It's a Stewart.
Stewart light tank. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Remove the gyro stabilizer rule and gain a second forward-facing hull-mounted MMG and vulnerable for -5 points. So the best you can do is 1 in MMG in the turret and 2 in the hull.
So it is definitely weaker.
So now it's 3 MMGs
9.
instead of 2 MMGs and 2 LMGs. And they're all halved shots, so it's 3, 6, 9 MMG shots.
9 shots. Yeah,
Flamethrower's way better. Flamethrower and a hull-mounted machine gun's way better than that, but... So 9 on a thing, that's still pretty good. I mean, 9 shots hitting on 4s probably works out to
How
20
many points?
shots hitting on 6s. That's for 130. I think that could still be a thing. That could still be a thing.
I can't even read this entry for the British light tanks.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out a second
Like,
ago.
what?
I was struggling
I don't-
with that one.
It's pretty obnoxious.
I need to make a spreadsheet to figure out what the hell this is saying.
Right, like this is like multiple different tanks with different turret
Yes,
types.
yes.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It basically took all the tanks that were 7+ and clumped them together.
Yep.
yep. Your light, your 7-up tank. Then you've got your mediums, and you've got your heavies and super heavies.
And then
Yeah.
Stewart by itself. That's bizarre, but also very convoluted, and I can't read it, so I'm going to stop trying.
Yeah, but it's going to get us by, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We got 5 army lists in one book, so
really think your T-28 Dale could be a fun spam list.
It's still got the MMGs. I was looking at that earlier. It kept all the turrets, the mini turrets and everything, and it still got the howitzer, and so it's maybe it's a cool tank too.
It's a cool tank.
Yeah. So
I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know that Steward spam is effectively killed or not. I think it could be horrifically still viable, but probably better.
Changed.
Probably better at flamethrowers though.
Yeah, I feel like the flamethrower vehicles are going to be. We're going to see that a lot.
Especially since they didn't the Satan have like volatile tanks or external tanks or some crazy rule like that's gone now.
I mean, they still have I think they still take extra damage on the damage table.
It was the Crocodile that had the externals.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah,
I
and
knew
they
one
could
of them.
jettison it.
Yeah,
but anything that's
the
got a flame tank has
Steward-
got the volatile.
yeah, they're
Steward
flammable.
thing.
They had the flammable rule or something. So
I think that they? What's the next one? Gurkhas? Do we think Gurkhas have been nerfed into line? I don't.
I think based on the change to the close combat system they have.
I think they're still too good, but that's me.
Tough fighter is
Tough fighter.
double-edged. It's
Tough
double-edged
fighter
sword.
is tougher to get. No pun intended.
Well, it's tougher to get, but it's also
Not
less
as good.
useful.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
it's
not
not as
nearly
good.
It's not as good.
Right.
So, but that goes both ways, right? Because you only ever assault Gurkhas with something theoretically that had tough fighter,
Right.
because it's the only chance you ever had.
Yep.
But that's out the window now.
Yeah.
But their tough fighter sucks too. So
Yeah, but their scary blighters rule.
yeah, their scary blighter
Still bullshit.
Still kicks ass. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And
Though-
did we leave the British with a bunch of rules so they can custom tailor their army to be what you want? Sure
Of
did.
course they did. Of course
Yeah.
they got all the rules. Whatever. Like was to be expected. I think we all saw that coming.
Yeah.
Whether or not we actually got to see the book.
Until the FAQ, British and Japanese didn't have engineers as an option.
Well, yeah, Gurkhas. You know,
but
engineers.
I mean, the FAQ came out right away, so they.
Right.
That's-
So I mean,
They-
you can
yeah, they-
you
There
can
was no
upgrade
period
you
of
guys.
time where they had that deficiency, really.
But all that does is mean so they can't do a flamethrower in their engineer squad, but that does access them to the flamethrower team.
That's
So-
not all that valuable yet.
No, you're putting your flamethrowers on a vehicle.
Yeah.
So
There's no value in the engineer squad at that point.
Not if you, yeah.
The nice thing about assault,
Well, they do that weird assault thing.
Yeah.
Well, how long till we see someone trying to smash Gurkha engineers?
oh god,
It's coming.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's coming.
It'll be. Yeah, if you've said it out loud now. It's like
Right.
Beetlejuice. It's coming.
Well, we have to say it twice more. So
I'm not going to say it. So
Yeah.
like Bonsai and Up and Atom. I like the change there that it's not automatic.
right.
and you're also not advancing, even though you shouldn't be advancing.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
unhappy that Blood Curdling Charge was left in the game because that's what makes Gurkha. That's the other thing that makes Gurkhas really fucking powerful.
That's the one where you can't shoot at
Yep.
them. Yeah.
At least most of the time you'll be fighting Simo.
At least most of the time you'll be fighting at Simo at worst.
At worst, yeah. You will get all of your attacks that first round.
Well, half of them.
Or
Right.
I'm sorry, yes, all the you were BLF.
I mean,
yes.
how expensive are Gurkha engineers, though, for Christ's sake?
Well, Gurkha engineers don't
Oh, we
exist in
said
the
it
book.
3 times.
That's
Dale.
twice.
No, Dale said it once. You guys are screwed.
Okay.
You
Well,
said
I
it
still
3
have
times.
I still have a lot of them painted, so I wouldn't be that terribly upset.
But they still can't get a flamethrower, so why would you make them engineers?
so that
so
you
that
can
they-
charge
So that they'd be
and go
Simo on
Simo.
charge.
Defender
and
position.
cover.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
Simon
because they get
defense.
the
Engineers have that
special
special
rule.
rule.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Brutal.
Yep.
Is it worth 1 point? Nah,
Yes.
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
Okay, fine.
Especially to give them a flamethrower.
I mean, let's be
They
honest.
can't have a flamethrower.
It's not an option in the unit, but giving them the engineers gives them the simultaneous and defended positions.
Right.
I mean,
right.
here's the
Oh,
thing.
I see what you're
Yes.
saying. Yeah,
The
that
purpose of
makes
taking
sense.
Gurkhas is to assault with them. You don't take Gurkhas to shoot.
No, yeah,
So
exactly.
giving them the ability to always strike Simo, fantastic. Because
Yeah,
that's
good
making
point.
them do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's another assault list you would. That's the only other assault list you might do. Well, I guess the Polish cavalry are an option, but
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Polish
actually,
cavalry are an
yeah,
option,
yeah.
except they're very limited about they can't charge into buildings and they're easy to kill.
Right, and they're one less cover save because they're cavalry.
oh, heads up, the the selection in the Warlord app for the Cavalry State, it's not that they get a bonus or a negative to cover. It still shows the old rule that they're easier to wound. So,
all right, I will inform the individual in charge of that.
Yeah, that's going to be problematic.
It's not correct.
It's not correct. Yeah, we want to get that fixed. Yep. What do I think a new meta is going to be? I think assault weapons with their buff. Huge buff.
Like German assault rifles. Sure.
Assault rifle. Anybody that can take an assault rifle and or an SMG.
That's Germans.
Or an SMG.
That's
huge.
Yeah.
SMGs and assault rifles.
Shotguns.
Anything with the
Marines.
assault is fantastic.
Pistols
Pistols lost it. Sad.
Yeah, Marines with Stuart flamethrower tanks in support.
Yeah, I'm in. I've got this.
And quad auto cannons rolling.
I mean, Fallschirmjäger with a flamethrower, Panzer III flamethrower is not terrible either.
Gosh, this sounds boring already.
I like it.
Blob action or brick action.
I'm
bricks.
Bricks. I'm not
Brick on brick. Just don't be the mortar.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, yeah. I'm sad because normally fire and maneuver was the American thing, and now it's kind of pants for that.
Well,
It's not maneuver anymore; it's just fire.
it's just fire. Well, they get it. They get it in both advance and a fire, whereas the British only get it on a fire now. So it's. I get what they did with the mechanics they had.
I mean, I get it. I hate it. It makes me not want to take BARs.
Right.
Yes.
The BAR now
Shotguns
feels parasitic to the unit, but the shotgun's
6 points for an extra shot and an extra 6 inches is not fantastic.
Not at 6 points, no.
Yeah, that's almost a dude.
Because you can't get the extra shot from that. It's only from the rifles.
Right. I feel like they needed to just give BARs assault.
Yeah.
Even though that wasn't their role. Their role is more fire suppression.
Oh no, they were 100% designed that everybody's moving up and you just fucking lay on the trigger and get them to have their heads down. But when you're moving up,
make them count towards their special rule.
That'd have been nice too.
That'd have been nice too.
That's all you have to do. Like just write, okay, my dice pool's 12. Okay, I get to add 4 more.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and here's the beauty of the Warlord game is we can twist the rule set however we want to for our purposes for our events.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about changing rules anymore. I'll say that.
Right. Well, I mean, look at what I don't know if you followed out what the Russ Wright has done in World Open War, but that ain't V3 bolt action over there.
It's something he's created.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's maybe a discussion for another time. So
yeah, maybe next.
There's
episode,
a whole episode
sure.
where we talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
how you can
a
take this
slippery
and make this rule set your own.
Yeah.
Right.
I did not see that as an option in the rulebook.
Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish. I will say the other thing, because I play Americans a lot, that frustrates me about that is we took all these modifiers out to simplify the game so I don't have to keep track of math, but now every time I want to shoot with my squad, I got to count how many fucking dudes I got there, divide it by 3, drop out the partials, subtract the BARs and the SMGs and the shotguns. Like, fuck me, man, I don't want to do math.
Yes, I'm crying in Great Britain.
Your suggestion went over with absolute curtain silence.
Yeah.
What was your suggestion?
Reroll the misses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd have been great.
But reroll the shots you missed.
Yep. Statistically,
Yeah,
it was
that's
almost identical to this.
Yeah.
But
He had the math and everything.
Yeah, but it didn't penalize BARs.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
So our NDAs for the version 3 were no longer under that, and we haven't seen anything for beyond that. And by we, I mean other than Pat. So, we can speculate that there's an opportunity with the Armies of series coming out that they'll update the Army special rules and the rest of it. So we might see some tweaks and changes.
I'd love it if they did.
Yeah.
It's going to be problematic that first year if they give them good Army rules. But
yeah, but I mean, I suppose especially if you're really on the competitive end of things, you can really start seeing.
But again, I don't think this is designed to be overly competitive, so maybe no one will care.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think so either, and I've always kind of gotten a kick out of people when they get cool shit and they're excited about their armies and stuff like that. So
yep.
We've already kind of have confirmation that those special rules might change. Right, someone got a card in one of their Panzer kits that said a special rule that doesn't exist yet. So,
Oh, yeah,
Osprey
yeah.
or Warlord has released information they should not have released already. We don't know what it means. It's just there is a special rule that doesn't exist in the game yet.
Yeah, maybe it's a specific rule to that unit we don't know about.
Sure, that's true. It could be for the unit, but it does exist outside of the get you by army list.
There's more
for
things
Germans.
coming. I think that's what we can.
Yeah.
I would assume that there's more stuff to come. I would assume that special rules will change too.
Well, they've already announced the fact that officers are supposed to be paying for their weapons,
Yeah.
and in this book, they're not paying for it. So clearly, as the other books come out, that was announced. That will probably be a factor in those.
Totally.
Yep.
So
More to come.
More to come.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would like to just play it as is, though. Let's not fuck with it too much right away.
I agree. Actually, I really want to play this as written for at least 6 months or so.
I'm excited.
Give
I've
it
actually
more-
got printed rules in my hand that are for
Yeah,
real.
that's awesome
Right.
too.
Right, that's a huge. I can make lists and look at the rules.
I don't
That's a big deal.
particularly care for the smell of this book, but everything else is great.
So, I mean, after all the salt, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm
looking
optimistic.
forward to it. So,
I think what we saw during playtesting made me like, oh shit, this is really bad. I think a lot of people are experiencing that right now.
Yep.
Right? There's a lot of knee jerking, but I think when we sat with it longer,
that's just not knees they're jerking.
well, that's a different type of people. Those are the people that think snipers are spotters now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That's a different problem. But my experience was there was a lot of anxiety early on about like, oh my god, these things are all changing. These are all changing. And now I'm like, okay, there's a lot of change. It's a different game.
It
but
is a different game, yes.
Seems like it could still be fun.
Yep.
Like, right? It's
And
just
I will
different.
say from my own playtesting, because I honestly played triple the games you guys did as a minimum.
Sure.
It took a while when we got towards the latter versions of these that I started seeing its final evolution and realizing, oh, okay, you know what, this is actually fun. So, because there was a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to play test this game, so stupid. Why are we doing these cover saves? But actually got to the point whereas the more people I was bringing in and going through the iterations with and playing with them, and I was seeing the stuff that they're so busy going, why, this is terrible, this is awesome. I'm seeing how the game can move past those other things. It got enjoyable again. So
Sure.
it comes around. It comes around.
Have you visited Stockholm recently?
No. But
Just
that's,
asking.
That's
Okay.
just a syndrome. You can take a pill for that now these days.
I know, yeah. Okay. No, but still, nonetheless, I have seen your
I
enthusiasm
hope it doesn't take
change.
2.5 years for everyone else to kind of see where this is going and that there is some enjoyment to be had in it, and don't get caught up in the, it's not V2, it's not V2, it's not V2. And no, it's not.
It's very much not. I'm excited. I think I'm on the same boat as Rick. I'm excited to see what this game is because it's not V2. It's a different game.
Right.
But I will never come around on cover saves. I will curse them as long as I play this edition.
Oh, they're 100% awful.
That's fine. I hate cover
Until they
saves.
put them in the right spot.
I'll just hate them
Then
forever.
it'll be important.
Yeah.
Fair. I do think that it was a concession to other game systems, but that's fine. Whatever.
It is what it is.
Yep. I think there's strategy in it. We'll find the strategy in cover saves versus having people rolling sevens. So
Just make sure your pin marker pile is full because you'll use them.
Jesus. Yeah.
yes, you will. You certainly will. All right. I think that's enough. V3. It's just not even salty anymore. We actually
Take your high
came
blood
around on
pressure
this, haven't we?
medication at the start of the episode.
Yep.
You'll be fine by the end.
Yeah, thanks for warning him at the end of the episode
Exactly.
as they died of a heart attack already. But anyway,
That does speak to our average age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Have some celery,
Yeah,
everyone.
we
Eat a
will,
salad. You'll be fine.
yeah,
Right.
we will obviously talk more and more about version 3 as we continue down this journey.
And
Because we can.
as we're moving into V3 now with wild speculation for the future.
now that NDAs don't exist, we can do some stuff. We can talk about some stuff.
Wildly speculate. It's my favorite thing to do.
It's a fun time. All right, Pat, get us out of here.
This is SNAFU. Over now.
I guess.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
haven't said thanks for that lovely weekend. Those 2 days of heaven you helped me to spend. The thrill of your kiss as you stepped off the train. The smile in your eyes like the sun after rain. To mark the occasion, we went out to dine. Remember the laughter, the music, the wine. That drive in the taxi when midnight had flown. Then breakfast next morning, just we two alone. You had to go, the time was so short. We both had so much to say. Your kids to be packed, the train to be caught. Sorry I cried, but I just felt that way. And now you have gone, dear, this letter I pen. My heart travels with you till we meet again. Keep smiling, my darling, and someday we'll spend a lifetime as sweet as that lovely weekend. To go, the time was so short, we both had so much to say. Your kids to be packed, the train to be caught. Sorry I cried, but I just felt that way. And now you have gone, dear, this letter I pen. My heart travels with you we meet again. Keep smiling, my darling, and someday we'll spend a lifetime as sweet as that lovely